Specifically fat cats, yeah.
Specifically fat cats. We were looking at Lisa's
And how
fat
they're
cat.
bastards.
Well, yeah, and Lucas has a
Yeah, my cat's just fluffy.
Yeah,
we
mine is
live,
fat.
and we're talking about cats. Hello, everybody. We're talking about Lucas's fat cat and Lisa's cat, as well as Emily's cat. We all just got the roadmap for Dragon Age: The Veilguard. How flippin' exciting! On a day like today, where we already had a planned stream anyway, and BioWare literally just flipping drop this out. Also, we are joined by DeCaster. DeCaster, how are you doing?
I'm very good, thank you.
Good to hear. DeCaster is also going to be joining us because we're going to be reading Callback, which has like 2 characters basically between us, which is what, like 8. So there are loads of things to go, plus the narration. There are loads of characters to go into Callback. But flipping heck, chat, folks here, what is everybody's reaction to the upcoming reveals of this roadmap that we've been waiting 2 weeks for in August for already? Like, flipping heck. I'll even just ask everybody here, like, instant reactions, excited, not excited? What are we feeling?
Well, I'm freaking excited.
Hell yeah.
I finally get to know when I have to take time off work.
Can you take time off work for tomorrow, Lisa, or not?
I am off tomorrow, actually.
Oh,
I'm
lucky.
off Thursday, so that's all
Nice.
good.
Yeah. Oh, good. By the way, chat, Lisa is the clown here, just so everybody's aware. I didn't have another picture of her, and I figured, you know what, everybody knows Lisa anyway, but clown. Emily, what were you going to say?
I'm happy to have a date in which I will know when my sequel fic needs to be finished by.
Ooh, indeed.
Which is slightly scary.
Yeah,
Oh no.
Yeah. The thing that
Jack.
Yes.
Could you real quick? Could you, if it wants to send, could you change my clown to what I'm sending on Discord right now?
Oh, cute.
I'd need it to be 50 by 50, but I can certainly try. Yeah, let me do that.
So
Thank
cute.
you.
I can do it. Lucas, what are your thoughts on the new roadmap? While I do Lisa's new picture.
Nice. Also
Thanks.
very excited, just slightly worried, as I said earlier, slightly worried that they're just revealed too much of everything basically. So what I'm gonna do is probably look at watch the release day trailer and then probably call it there and just wait until it comes out so I don't know too much beforehand.
Too much. What would be too much, do you reckon?
I don't really want to know anything about the motivations of the companions or actually too much of their backstory as well. I just want to see it in game. Yeah,
you want to actually you don't like, for now Davron is a complete mystery and we can kind of create our own theories around him, but then if we then it's like, by the way,
for him, for Davron, like, I know he's a Grey Warden, I know he has a Griffin. I don't know, I don't want to know beforehand how the hell he got that Griffin.
Yeah, because you're going to find out
Agreed.
anyway. Yeah, so it's trying to, it's that balance of like how much is too much.
Yeah, I'd be happy to know a little bit more about their personality, but just not too much. But just I don't know, like, what are their hobbies? What are they like? That kind of stuff.
What
but
do they
no
want?
story
What can we
spoilers.
flirt with them about so that we know we can romance them? At least help us in that regard.
Just little bits of information, like Lucanus is a good cook. Like, that's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good little tidbit. It doesn't take too much.
Yeah.
And apparently he's not very social, or he struggles with being social. He's more into stab.
Exactly.
Yeah, which hey, hell yeah, let's see that.
And he likes coffee.
And he likes coffee, yeah. And he's got some weird, freaky demon stuff going on, but we kind of want to see that for ourselves, don't we? We're like, okay, right, that's cool. Say no more. Let's experience it. It's like with Solas.
That's still speculation as of right now.
It's like with Solas. Like, the reveal of Solas is really cool when you do it organically. Because I was like, ah! As opposed to, oh yeah, this guy's an avant-garde, it's really cool. You're going to play the game and you're going to see his plot and then you can fold that. You kind of like that reveal when it is a surprise is so sick. So it's keeping that level of mystery, especially when, like, we're all looking at all these characters anyway going, are you going to betray us? No. Are you going to betray us? Jackdaw can barely hear you. Let me change my gain. Can you hear me now? I don't want to be too loud because sometimes it makes a weird little fuzz. I can speak louder if people in the Discord can turn me down if I get too loud.
I'll just mute you.
Oh, you can mute me. Yeah. I've turned my gain up. Let me know. I will continue talking. What's happening, Jordan? We just got the roadmap for Dragon Age: The Veilguard for August. I will go through it because I was at a meal when it came out and I was trying to be polite and not freak out. So I was like, and then blanking out for about 20 minutes looking at my phone.
I can totally imagine that.
I mean, it's already pretty rude looking at your phone. But...
No, but I got a notification and it was in the middle of getting drinks, and I did not need to explain myself. I know. Yeah, it was in the middle of getting drinks. I was like, what is it? I was like, oh no. It just turned.
Stay calm.
It just turned.
Breathe in, breathe out.
Yeah. It turned 6 p.m. and I know like that's the hour that we get Dragon Age or Bioware tweets on a Wednesday as well. I was like, oh shit. But for those who don't know, so tomorrow, literally tomorrow, we're getting the release date trailer and announcement. And then following, so literally, and also apparently pre-orders are being made available tomorrow, so we can literally pre-order. Does that mean collector's editions? It better be, right?
I hope so.
Surely.
They basically already have my money.
Yeah, I mean,
money is already gone.
Yeah, for me, that's the best time to release a collector's edition. It's like, right, game, here's the release date, and here's the mega collector's edition with the pendant of Fenrirel, or the stabby stab dagger of the elves, or the mural of the Via Defara thingy thing, whatever they
I
do.
want the art book, and I want a Thetis map.
Yes.
I want a proper Thetis map.
Yes.
Please.
Also,
honestly,
chat,
some posters.
Posters as well.
Ahead.
No, just get chat. If I am still too quiet, please let me know. Yeah, posters, lithographs, murals. At least, well, we're definitely, I'll get the tweet or the Discord message. We're definitely getting, I will read it verbatim just so I am not speculating. So from a community manager, Ayo, by the way, pre-orders will open tomorrow too. Get ready for that and feel free to spread the word. So that's exciting. And I accidentally deleted my Twitter tab. So that's tomorrow. I cannot stream that because I am seeing Taylor Swift. It just so happens that on the very day, like before, we get Dragon Age news, I am also seeing the Queen of Pop herself. Otherwise, I would 150% be there. But no, unfortunately, not unfortunately, I will be seeing Taylor Swift. Now, what I will try and do, and I was talking about this at work, while I was at my work meal, I might, and this probably will not happen, because I will be out of it, I might try and stream on my phone my reaction to it while dressed up in my Taylor Swift outfit while in the queue, but it depends what time this trailer's on. I don't think that is a possibility. I might be able to record it.
Dropping at 5?
5, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah.
I'd need to check.
I'll check. Because it's already like up.
Yeah, 23 hours, isn't it?
Yeah.
What time do doors open for Taylor Swift in Wembley?
Yeah, so it's gonna be at 5 for you.
Probably not. It's fine. We'll talk about it on the weekend. But yes, 5 p.m. Cool. Anyway, following that, which is exciting anyway, pre-orders, get your cash ready because we're getting the release date. We'll have then next week, or the week of, we're going to be getting high-level combat and a PC spotlight, which is cool. Did they reveal more information about this? I think they did. Yeah, they did. They said... they said somewhere. Oh, here it is. In the coming weeks, we'll have a high-level warrior combat gameplay, and which is going to be this bit here on a PC, which is sick. And a companions week, and then another developer Discord, which is happening on the 30th. So these two are happening on the week of. So at any point on that week, maybe it is a week thing. Maybe it's 2 things in 1 week, I assume. And then August 30th, developer Discord Q&A, and then September, IGN first month-long exclusive coverage begins. And IGN have always done that for Bioware titles, which has been really, really good stuff. Andromeda, Inquisition, I remember very, very fondly. And then September, more stuff coming beyond. Definitely getting into that release date, which whenever that release could be. It could be October. It literally could be. Yeah, what's everybody's thoughts on the release date? Is it going to be October, November, September? Is September too far out? Sorry, too soon?
I mean...
For your fan fiction.
Yeah, I don't want to be selfish, but I wouldn't mind early November. Just listen, the first fic took 7 years.
Yeah.
So if I want to do 4 chapters, I need some time.
Yeah. I mean, we've been waiting 10 years. I don't mind waiting a little bit longer. Now that we're getting marketing material, like, this is good shit. This is really good. Like, seeing all this content is exciting. For me, it's not too much, I don't think. I think this is good, without giving too much away. But obviously, we need to judge the substance of that. And I'm excited about whatever this release date trailer is. Because what is that? Is it a story trailer? Is it just a 30-second bam trailer? I think it'll be something quite plotty, to be honest.
So if IGN is getting a month-long like early access, does that mean that the game releases like right after that?
That's the thing, because they've done that historically, but it might just be like that's why I'm confused about the question mark, because is that the release date?
Well, I mean, there was the art book leak that said that the art book would release like the 28th or the 29th.
29th, I believe, and then it changed to like the 6th of November though as well, didn't it? I think.
Well, that was another. It was another website that listed it. I think the first one was Dark Horse themselves, if I remember correctly, and then there was another website, and then both removed it. So like, it's all speculation at this point. But I think I am inclined to say October, like late October, early November.
I agree. I'm thinking honestly October 29th. I'm thinking that day. Tuesday, games release normally, again, doesn't have to be, but typically on a Tuesday or a Friday. So that is the October 29th. And then I think the Friday, I can't even remember what that is. But yeah. Either way, it's very soon. And we're getting the date tomorrow, so we don't need to speculate on it anymore. But what I will do before we do go into the book is I'm just going to show you all just the sexy shots we've got of Rook and Tavern. Just so you can all see it in the beautiful, beautiful glory that they have revealed them in. This is Rook, and already, just personally, BioWare got my hairstyle spot on straight away, so I can do a self-insert immediately, knowing that my hairstyle is already satiated. Thank you so much, BioWare. But just looks sick. The environment here looks like the Arlafan Forest. Literally, it looks like they've came from the ritual because of the portally, fadey stuff. But yeah, look at that Rook. Look at the facial hair, the eye quality, the eye detail. It looks brilliant. There's one Rook, but I'm more impressed by the female elf Rook. She looks beautiful with Tavern in the background. Look at those. Oh my goodness. Beautiful detailing on her. Her hairstyle. And then Tavern looking freaking sick. And then Lucas had a point about the collar stuff, didn't you, Lucas? The collar fashion of Thedas.
Oh, wait, hold on. Let me just... I'm eating.
A very important question. What are you eating?
Yeah.
Hot dogs.
Oh, nice. Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's like, what is up with all the collars in Thedas at the moment? Like, Vivian did it in Inquisition, now Devrin is also doing it. Like, massive, oversized collars on shirts.
Yeah.
I guess we're bringing back the 70s.
Evidently,
Hell yeah. And then...
He has a V-neck to match it as well.
He does. He does. Here's another shot of Tavern for everybody. There he is. In full
the
detail.
Filthy man whore.
Good.
Yeah. Then we have Nev. Oh my goodness. Beautiful Nev, who looks fantastic again. That smirk she's got going on there as well. And then we have a beautiful shot of Tash, finally. Like, yes, we've seen Tash, but like, she's somebody we've seen the least in engine properly. And there she is. Look at those horns.
I think she's also the one we know the least about right now.
I think we know a bit more about her than Tavern. For example, we know that she's the tallest and that she
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, but Tavern, Tavern, he's a Grey Warden, he's an elf, and he has a griffin. Tash is the tallest. Tash has a reason why she has an emerald horn. And she's a dragon hunter, Cunari, Lord of Fortune, raised in Ravane. We don't know where Tavern was raised. They're both, I'd say they're both equal. But yeah, it's true.
That's
it's
fair.
True. Lucas, have you finished eating?
I have, yes.
What we will do, folks, now is we are going to go into Rook Club and give everybody a proper introduction now. So I'm joined with Lisa and Lucas and Emily and also DeCaster. So Emily was here last week with Lucas. Lisa, of course, very familiar on my channel in all the podcasts and all my other streams. But DeCaster, how are you doing? We're just going to give a little brief introduction to you, DeCaster. Just tell me, what does Dragon Age mean to you on any kind of level? Could be very, very, very deep. Could be very, very short. What does Dragon Age just generally mean to you?
It does mean a hell of a lot to me.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much a baby in terms of the fandom because I only got into Dragon Age early last year.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does mean a lot to me. It came into my life at a very, very dark time.
Yeah.
And yeah, it really got me through. So it's
good.
just really exciting getting to experience all of this with you long timers.
Hell yeah. No, absolutely. That's what it's all about. That's what I love about the community is all of us coming together. Everybody's freaking out about your voice. DeCaster voice reveal.
I can't get the stream to run while I'm on Discord with you, so I'm blind at the moment.
I'll relay as much of the chat as I can. But yeah. Yeah, everybody's excited about the voice reveal. But no, again, just to echo that, that's literally what I love about the fandom too, is just coming together and everybody experiencing all of this together. I'm quite an extrovert, so I'm an introverted extrovert, but I love experiencing all the things in the fandom with a nice, just wholesome group of people. And I really, really enjoy that. That's what really motivates me currently, looking into this game and just doing it with people. I love that. I couldn't do it alone. So no, I appreciate just everybody making this community a really, really bigger and better place. Particularly, I'm talking about my Discord and what I see on Twitter and stuff like that. So no, absolutely appreciate that. With that, let us jump into... Is everybody ready, first of all? Nobody eating or sipping on a Earl Grey tea or choking on any sausages or anything like that?
I've pulled out.
I'm good.
You know what? Just to spite you, I'm just gonna shove my face every time I have a line.
Like, 1 second, Sutherland is in the middle of chowing down on a Cumberland sausage. Brilliant. Well, with that, we are going to start... Oh, let me move the Jack Audible logo. 1 second. I just noticed I pushed that all over there. We're going to be doing Callback, everybody. So, Callback in Tevinter Nights is a book that takes us back to Skyhold. So we will be seeing what happened to Skyhold after the Inquisitor, basically, bluntly, deserted the place. So, let me just move the logo very slowly. Give me a minute. That's back in center. So... For this, I am the narrator. We have Lucas as Sutherland, the main character, also doing the demon, of course. Lucas loves doing his demons, and we love him doing the demons. Emily is doing Shade and Elan. DeCaster is doing Thoth and Dagna. Jack, me, I'm the narrator, and I'm doing Harriet and Cabot. And then Lisa is doing Rat and Morris. So plenty of characters in between. So get ready for that. I think there's more dialogue this time around too. So let us wind down. Get your tea, as Waxy just said. And we're going to jump straight into this. Defiant Sausage is a great concept. That's what Anti-Gen says about that, Lucas.
I want that as an ability.
Defiant Sausage. That's Lucas' special ability. Defiant Sausage. Brilliant. So let us whisk away. So Callback by Lucas Chris Johnson. I believe Lucas Chris Johnson, was unfortunately laid off the same time as Mary Kirby last year, which is unfortunate that he unfortunately won't be seeing the result of his work, or at least in the office during that part. So yeah, just shitty EA malpractices. Regardless, let us push on and read this. So, Callback. Sutherland took off his helmet to take in the whole of Skyhold. It was not smaller than he remembered.
Every day here was the best day,
he said. The three of them had arrived at first light. Sir Donald of the Hinters, Crosscut Brother, namesake of Sutherland's company, Sir Shade, Lady of Eversol, Bard of Secret Distinction, and Sir Voth Dalan, a free mage by special commendation. Together they were a forming adventuring company of the Inquisition, recently titled and landed with a minor hold of their own. They'd been on patrol for a month, reviewing borders and meeting neighbours. They were well overdue for a rest, but when the request came, there was no hesitation. Skyhold was dark, and they were the response, the only response. The mountain route had been clearly marked, in the way that newly forbidden trails always are. But Sutherland could have made the week-long climb blindfolded. He'd done it before, or may as well have. Thousands had blindly stumbled up that path, braving snow and snaggled trees, hopping their way forward. Their search rewarded when the mountains parted like curtains, revealing a sprawling valley and the monolithic fortress of Skyhold. The valley was abandoned now, spotted with the cold stones of dead fires, a hint of the numbers that had once found shelter there. Sutherland had done better than shelter. He'd found a purpose he never doubted. The call to return had given him another.
Anything?
Sutherland called over his shoulder. They'd perched on a rocky overlook, but high stone battlements hid everything except the upper floors of the main keep, and shingled? Yeah, shingled.
Yes, shingled.
And the shingled roofs of the courtyard buildings. Voff waved the end of a perception-altering spell, his elven ears twitching in annoyance.
Nothing moving,
he said cautiously. Lack of movement didn't mean the fortress was empty. Shade warily nocked an arrow, despite having no target.
We should have been spotted and flagged by the caretakers.
She looked at Sutherland.
It isn't right.
Sutherland put his hand on her shoulder.
That's why we're here.
He smiled. He put his helmet back on and signalled for them to move out.
Main stairs,
he said. His manner was decisive and reassuring, but really, there was no other option. Skyhold allowed one approach, and when you walked it, you felt watched and small.
Ow! Sorry, forgot to mute myself, but that was my cat just clawing into me.
Sutherland is suddenly attacked by it.
By Skyhold, by cats that have taken over Skyhold. Yeah. Back to it. Sorry.
Don't worry about it.
Remember,
said Voff.
It will feel us.
Good,
said Sutherland. Two numbers mattered after the Inquisition. 10,001. The first was the deliberately alarming guess of how many soldiers, assassins, diplomats, and all manners of free blades the Inquisitor had drawn across nations. It was a massive, destabilizing militia with allegiance to an ideal, not borders. Or so the nobility feared. The second number was even more troubling to them. One, they claimed, was how many charismatic monsters it took to misuse that force. Sir Pouncelot returns, as everybody's saying in the chat. The cats attack. Because of, where was I? The Inquisition had to be disbanded, they argued. Not because of what it was, because of what it might become in lesser hands. Skyhold itself posed a unique problem. The ancient fortress had been the heart of the effort. It was too symbolic to be razed. There was only so much insult its former occupants would occupy, and it was too fortified to be left for just anyone to claim. The Inquisition wasn't the first army it had hosted. The next might not be so charitably inspired. It was eventually decided that Skyhold would be preserved, but also defanged. It would remain a distinct beacon so that all would remember when the Inquisitor had rallied the people of Thedas against a false god and shouted, "No!" as one. Sutherland and his company had been there, had rallied with the Inquisitor. And now they walked the valley alone, through the empty echo of that resolve.
Feels wrong, going in without Rat,
said Shade.
We stick to the plan,
Sutherland said. When the order had come, they had set out immediately, but not directly, crisscrossing between Ferelden and Orlais. Now on the last leg, Sutherland had split his company. He, Shade, and Voff were marching straight to Skyhold, loud with colours raised. Rat, his dwarven squire, deliberately held back on his order.
Right,
said Shade.
It has to feel us.
Skyhold stood alone in the valley, raised high on a butte, as though the mountains themselves had fallen away after failing to scale its walls. Normally, a cable lift brought people and pack animals from the valley floor. Kinda wish we saw that in the game, to be honest. But with no response from above, they had to climb the stairs that spiraled the interior of the Barbican watchtower. They had a long ascent ahead of them. Officials had promised that the Inquisition would fade away. If there was doubt, if lingering assets proved troublesome, fear and fighting over its legacy would resume. Skyhold had to be boring and safe. But the last report from the caretaker had been a meandering description of restoring the fresco, which was not at all in his mandate. Ooh. The next supply caravan, the one meant to clarify that all was normal, had not returned. Skyhold was again a problem. Sutherland and his friends were the response, the only response, and he had suspicions about that. They had served at Skyhold and would keep this quiet. But if things were truly dire, they were also small enough to disappear. Why else send his tiny company against a fortress that had withstood armies? But Sutherland had returned with purpose. He had no regrets about his time at Skyhold. He wasn't going to let failing to protect its legacy be his first. As long as Rat kept pace, and they stuck to his plan.
We still think demon?
Shade asked. Still, she tightened buckles as they climbed, securing hardened leather over the brigandine and silk of her tunic. Thoth simply nodded. If this had happened anywhere else, possession wouldn't have been their first concern, but Skyhold was unusual. The veil, the divide between the mortal and spirit realms, was very thin there. It reacted to events like water reacted to stones, and Skyhold had seen more than its share of ripples. Sutherland spoke with every step upward, repeating the last 4 words of the caretaker's final report.
I have made mistakes,
he said.
What kind of mistakes?
Spirits are peculiar things. They are driven by emotions, same as mortals. But spirits embody this to such a singular degree. The expression of an emotion can be a beacon, an attack, or even sustenance. It's very different for a mortal to act with compassion and a spirit to act as compassion. And it's different again for a demon. They are even more inward, more craving, more willing to manipulate to see the flavour of emotion in action, more jealous, starved, and dangerous when it isn't. There were many kinds of mistakes. Sutherland and his friends had made their guesses and prepared as best as they could. The light at the end of their climb meant that those preparations would soon be tested.
Line of sight from everywhere,
Shade said. The trio carefully peered from the Barbican watchtower. It was the same thick stone as the main fortress, but it stood separate, like a last warning. The connecting bridge to the gatehouse, the neck, was strong, but deliberately exposed. It offered a welcoming view to travellers and gave nobles a chance to parade. But the real purpose was to allow ballistae their pick of target. Ballistae? Whatever. There was no cover between the tower and the gatehouse. Stepping on the neck meant exposing your throat. Shade pointed at the shorter battlements on either side of the gatehouse.
I'd sit up there sometimes.
She mused.
There's just this access thing from the rampart. I could watch everyone.
She shuddered, imagining the view of herself now and who or what might be in her old place. Sutherland had hoped for an obvious threat, but there was nothing. Even the drawbridge at the gatehouse was down, open, like an invitation, or a dare. He set his pack to the side of the Barbican, and secured his travelling cloak over it. Then he examined the cables of the lift. There had been no one to lower it, but it appeared functional. He tapped the port pillar thoughtfully. He loosened sheaves and tightened greaves. He breathed deep, then he threw the lever that would lower the lift, or lever, whatever. and as the silence yielded to the shifting of huge counterweights, Sutherland stepped boldly onto the open stones of the neck.
Easy, fool,
said Shade, grabbing for his pauldron. There was no response from the fortress. No volley of bolts cut him down. He turned and smiled, arms out.
If it's a demon, it has to feel us. And besides...
Sutherland shrugged, looking to the gate, the main keep, and the rotunda within.
We can guess where it'll be.
The walk to the courtyard was uneventful. The battlements were empty threats, the ramparts behind them bare. The fires beneath the gatehouse meant to steer intruders caught between I'd never heard this word before. Portcullises.
We're done.
Were as cold as those in the valley. The centre courtyard was the most startling. Always bustling, messengers running under and then up the stone ramp that curved to the main keep doors. Now it was oppressively quiet. They felt the hollow weight of a fortress meant for hundreds. But despite it all, Sutherland was smiling. He couldn't help it. It felt familiar and light, like stepping back in time. He'd been a farmer most of his life, or maybe he'd just been the son of a farmer. When bandits threatened to oust his family, Sutherland ran. But not to hide. He found an Inquisition patrol and asked if they could help. If he could help. They said it was a local matter, but he could trek to Skyhold, make his case to their commander. He suspected that they told this to everyone, and that most never made the attempt. But he had, and he'd looked so innocuous, so inconsequential. He'd simply walked through the gates among the supply caravans, and then he was standing in the tavern, not knowing who to talk to or why they should care. Sutherland stared up at the Herald's Rest now, wearing armour that cost more than the farm he'd rescued. The Inquisitor had taken a chance on him, on Shade, Voth, and Rat, and they had honoured every coin plus interest. But he'd always felt like it wasn't enough. Everything good in his life, his friends, the keep he owned, the people who called him Sir, he owed all of it to the one place, one person, and one change in direction. He looked at the dark of the tavern windows, imagining the cold of its empty hearth, and knew he had to do more. He vowed that he would. If Rat keeps pace and they stick to his plan.
Donald?
Shade was looking at him, like she did when he was lost in himself.
I'm here,
he said.
Yeah. So was he.
When they'd emerged from the gatehouse, reflex had taken Sutherland's eyes left, to the raised courtyard that held the tavern. Shade was pointing right, down the curve of the rookery, past the empty merchant stall. She was pointing at the stables, at a body. The caretaker of Skyhold had been carefully chosen. He'd been a brother of the Chantry, with only distant family and an unremarkable name. He'd welcomed long pilgrimages and repetitive but important work. He was a patient, gentle mentor. He was stable, and now he was nailed to one. Sutherland, Shade, and Thoth approached with sword drawn, arrow nocked, and staff flickering with preemptive wards. There was no other movement. Even the banners on the ramparts above were still. The stables hadn't seen regular use since Skyhold was shuttered. They were so clean, they looked more like an exhibit, a model of how horses might be housed, except for the figures of the caretaker, half standing at the stable door, attached to the frame by a large spike in his left forearm just below the wrist.
Maker,
said Sutherland, squinting to see this.
Dead at least a week,
said Shade.
You can tell from the eyes.
She got as close as she dared, her dark skin showing how pale the corpse truly was.
He bled out.
But not from that,
said Voth, pointing at the spike. There wasn't enough blood on the arm, and if the man stooped, the wound was above his heart. He might have died because of it, but it wouldn't have drained him so thoroughly.
Right. Pinned there, but...
Shade flipped the man's cloak to the side, revealing long gashes in his belly. The wounds had long dried, but the bright red of his chantry robe made the scent feel fresh.
Like bleeding a rat.
She muttered.
No.
Said Sutherland.
It's vicious.
Shade said, turning.
But it makes sense.
No.
He said.
Look.
The caretaker was hanging by his left arm. Sutherland pointed down by the man's right arm. There, where it would have fallen if the strength in his hand was failing, was a bloodied hammer.
Oh shit,
said Shade, backing up quickly. Voff rubbed his scalp in troubled thought.
Pinned himself so he couldn't move.
Then something came for him.
Sutherland warily scanned the courtyard.
Demons.
Shade spat.
They tempt and confuse.
Said Voff.
Maybe our friend realized he was being used.
Voff gestured at the spike.
So he made himself unusable.
That's not better.
Said Shade.
Why? What would you want to avoid so bad? You'd nail your own arm to a wall.
Nails!
Said Voff, suddenly animated, brushing Shade to the side. He produced a small dagger and poked at the ends of the caretaker's fingers. They were as pale as his face, but the tips were oddly discoloured. Voff dug slightly under the nail of the index finger and produced the result for his comrades to see.
What is that?
Said Shade, eyeing a multicoloured glob.
Pigment and plaster.
Said Voff. Sutherland looked back sharply.
Caretaker had spent a week in the Rotunda.
He said, quoting the Chantry report.
With some intent to restore the fresco, which was not at all his mandate.
I've made mistakes.
Finished Shade. Demons were never trivial. It was crucial to know what kind it was to know how to counter it, to know who could counter it. The proud would fall to the strength of pride. Desire could stealthily take the wanting. Rage could consume those who carelessly fueled it. There were many kinds of mistakes, and only so many the small company could anticipate. Sutherland carefully pulled the spike from the caretaker's forearm and laid him down in the stables, covering the body with a horse blanket. Voff placed a ward to prevent manipulation by blood magic.
Is that necessary?
Asked Shade, wanting the answer to be no.
Can't hurt.
Said Voff, meaning he felt it was very necessary. The three of them walked back past the gatehouse, up to the raised west courtyard. They surveyed the rest of the outer buildings as they went. Everything was as monkeyishly clean as the stables. Merchant stalls waited for wares that weren't coming. The ramp to the main hall looked like it had never seen a boot, let alone the thousands that had appealed at the Inquisitor's door. The wooden-framed tavern and smithy weren't quite as Sutherland remembered. They were too empty. Many of the disbanding Inquisition had taken keepsakes when they left, unwilling to simply abandon the place they had so completely changed their lives. The furniture that remained was arranged for display. Chairs were neither tucked under tables nor fully sideways, as though someone had just stood. They were between, as though invisible commanders were still sitting there, turning to greet a runner. A tableau created by those charged with perseverance, not those who had lived it.
No other bodies,
said Sutherland.
How many are missing?
Permanent staff was 7.
Said Shade, flipping through a logbook.
Another 10 in the supply caravan.
Seasoned blade amongst them,
said Sutherland, frowning.
Voff, anything.
The demon couldn't get the caretaker, and then for some reason it could. It has claws or fangs.
That's not enough.
Shade bit the inside of her lip. Bards preferred knowing too much about their enemies. Sutherland warily scanned the balconies of the main keep, and the windows of the rotunda.
How long until...
Until it comes for us? Depends.
Voth,
said Shade, exasperated.
give me something.
Like we guessed from the report, it probably emerged in the Rotunda. If it's hungry, and we express the emotion it needs, it'll come when it wants.
There was a sound beyond the gates, from the Barbican past the neck. The counterweights of the cable lift shifted. The platform was rising.
We can't wait.
Sutherland said.
It has to feel us.
Maybe they shouldn't come,
said Shade. The words had barely left her lips when a sudden gust of wind threw the doors of the main keep open. They slammed into the stone framework, causing a ringing in their ears that seemed to change to a distant howl as it faded. The three of them exchanged shocked looks and ran forward, ready to face whatever was waiting. Nothing was there. They stood nervously by the ramp to the doors, weapons drawn, waiting.
Do you hear that?
Sutherland whispered harshly.
What?
Said Shade, eyes wide.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Sutherland walked up the ramp and carefully peered into the great hall. Behind him, no leaves moved. No insects busied themselves in the few flowers that grew at this height. The banners on the ramparts showed no sign of the strange wind, or any wind at all. Everything was perfectly still. A growing chill hung in the air.
Venedis,
said Voth, breaking the silence with an elven swear. He waved his hand in a practiced but tense motion. Small filaments of energy weaving between his fingers and his gnarled heartwood staff. He whirled, eyes closed, trying to focus on ripples in the veil.
A demon for certain,
he said, straining.
Something got its attention.
Will it attack?
Asked Shade. She ducked his staff while also trying to watch every vantage that bordered the courtyard.
I don't think so. It isn't...
Voth stopped, turning and frowned. He opened his eyes and, as he abandoned the spell, energy crackling away, shoulders sagging.
I tried to get its name, but it moved too fast.
It's not the only one,
said Sutherland, returning down the ramp. In his left hand was the horse blanket he'd draped over the caretaker.
This,
said Sutherland,
was in the hall.
Venedis,
muttered Shade. Sutherland dropped the blanket and looked past his friends, past the neck. The cable lift had almost reached the top of the watchtower.
Right,
he said, steeling himself. As he talked, he tightened the vambrace on his sword arm.
We did something to get this thing's attention, and now we need to keep it, so...
He stopped. Shade was staring, arms crossed, annoyed but smiling.
We can't wait.
Sutherland looked at her hopefully.
It has to feel us.
Skyhold had stood for millennia. It was all but inassailable, and in the right hands it could field troops across all southern Thadists. It had everything that a fortress could be expected to have. And one thing more, the Fresco in the Rotunda.
When did you last see it?
Asked Shade. They left the courtyard and entered the great hall, heading for the narrow corridors that weaved to the inner chambers. Every door was open, but caution made them slower than if they'd picked every lock.
After the Inquisitor returned from the Temple of Mythal,
said Sutherland with some reverence.
Panel with the ancient elves.
I heard there was one more,
said Shade.
It was supposed to show the victory against Corypheus.
Didn't get the chance.
Sutherland looked at her, smiling.
You know we had to leave. Avoid the rush, you said.
Heaps don't grow on trees,
she offered, eyeing him kindly. Leaving had been a difficult decision for all of them.
I know. I just wanted...
Sutherland stopped, raising his hand to alert the others. There was a sound, like a whisper, but not quite words. The opening to the rotunda was ahead, and the light inside was wrong. It had a greenish tinge, like he'd seen around Fade Rifts. If the veil was that thin here, that damaged, no wonder a demon got through. But what demon was it? What kind of mistake had lured it here? Sutherland turned to his party. Voth was spinning a protective ward from the air, his staff glowing. Shade had traded her bow for tight quarters weapons, a pair of serrated daggers, wet with a liquid he knew not to ask her about. He gripped his longsword, nodding to them both, and stepped through the opening. The rotunda was a stone silo, more than 3 stories tall. It was connected to the main keep, both at the base and through an upper, ring-like floor that housed the library. It was capped by the rookery, which offered a vertigo-inducing view to the ground level. It was an odd use of space for a fortress. Shade had said it was perfect for important meetings because there was no corners to hide secrets. Whatever it was originally for, this hollow tower had become known for the Fresco. 8 panels circling the room, nearly 20 feet tall each. Every act of the Inquisitor recorded in masterful plaster and paint, from the explosion that had marked the Herald, to the triumph against a blighted false god, all painted by Solas, the Inquisition's expert on the Veil and the Fade beyond. It was his gift of record. At least, that's what was claimed at the time. The rotunda they entered now was not fastidiously clean like the rest of Skyhold. The floor was splotched with the muddy brown of old blood. Far above, cages that once held messenger birds strained with unfamiliar weight. Each was stuffed with body parts. Droplets fell infrequently from dismemberments that were not fresh. Ew. There was a desk in the centre of the room, the same that had been graced by the Inquisitor, Solas, and countless dignitaries. Thank you, Lucas. Now, though, there was only one occupant, a single, unmoving body.
Caretaker,
whispered Voth, nodding towards the corpse. As quiet as he tried to be, Voth's words seemed to carry and change. They merged with a sound in the room. The same whisper they'd heard outside, now moving around the inner wall.
It's the plaster,
said Shade, unable to look away. The fresco seemed to gain depth on the wall, the layers of plaster shifting with a dry, rasping sound. The whisper without words. It was subtle at first. In the first panel, a coal-black shadow moved behind the breach above the enclave, the explosion that had marked the Herald. The second panel was the Inquisition symbol, marking its foundations, a vertical greatsword sheathed by the eye of Andraste, wreathed in fire. Red pigment scraped itself from the stylized pupil and slid down the grey blade. More blackness crawled from 2 carefully detailed wolves that guarded the symbol, leaving them pale and dusty. There was a rush of air, as violent as the gust that had slammed open the door outside. This time, however, it pulled doors and furniture inward, smashing debris against the rotunda entrance.
Oh, you piece of...
Shade threw herself against the off-kilter mess that now blocked the passage out. Her weight barely moved the pile. Voth joined in, using his staff as leverage, but added little to the result. Shade looked to Sutherland.
Put your shoulder in it,
she demanded. Sutherland shook his head.
We won't get through there until we go through that.
He gestured at the shape moving across the fresco. Voth nodded, resigned. Shade uttered a frustrating growl, kicked the rubble one last time, and readied her daggers again. The mass of plaster and shadow was still growing, stealing pigment from the third panel, the short triumph before the destruction of Haven. It continued to the image of the false god Corypheus, formerly such a figure of dread, and drained him like the wolves. Each event that had shaped the Inquisition was being stripped of colour. The sound grew harsher, like a crate of porcelain pots in the back of a wagon, sliding against each other. And as the trio turned, watching and predicting the movement, its purpose became clear.
The 8th panel,
said Voth. The 8th and final panel of the fresco, meant to commemorate the battle against the blighted Magister Corypheus, was unfinished. It showed only rough shapes, outlines that the mass of colour crawling around the room now rushed to fill, and as details and depth emerged, something was wrong.
That's not what I pictured,
said Sutherland, confused. The story was well known. The Elder One, the false god Corypheus, had torn a hole in the sky to steal power from the heavens. He couldn't be killed until his blighted dragon was dead, and the Herald, the Inquisitor, had somehow countered with a dragon of their own. And there was a dragon on the panel, with an Inquisition blade in its neck. But according to the story, both creatures had fallen first, leaving the final victory to the Inquisitor. But here, unfinished, was the outline of a beast that stood over both dragon and sword. This was not the battle or the victory. This was after, and the beast was not a dragon. The outline alone might have allowed that assumption, but now, filling with black and red, it was something other. The creature was reptilian, but also canine. The snout was blunted and toothy, but edges came to a point in hound-like ears. As the mass of plaster filled the shape, it began to rise, revealing scales and tail, and paws with talons. It looked like two figures painted on either side of a pane of glass, then viewed together, their forms confused. A wolf that absorbed a dragon, and now stood crooked overall. Or crooked overall, yeah. With a sickening crack, it separated from the wall. From the victory, it was suddenly a full and imposing physical creature. It turned to look at Sutherland and his company.
That's too many eyes,
said Shade, ready to throw a dagger and pluck one out. And then she stopped.
Shade?
Said Sutherland. He needed to know she was safe, but he couldn't risk taking his eyes off the creature that now stood independent from the fresco. Shade didn't answer. Voth was on Sutherland's left, and had begun a spell that hurt just to feel it cast. And then Voth was also still and silent. Sutherland tried to put himself between the demon and his frozen friends. He eyed the room, looking for anything that would help. Except for the desk and the body of the caretaker, it was a bare circle. There were 3 entrances, the one they'd used, one that led outside, and the one with stairs that circled upward within the walls. All were blocked. Sutherland looked up the unscalable walls to the rookery above. He couldn't see through to the outside, but the cages reflected tiny slivers of light from unseen windows. There was a hint of movement, something just past the lip of the rotunda. Not yet, Sutherland mouthed to himself. He had to keep the demon's attention, make it feel him. He banged his sword against his cuirass, then held it before him. He stared the creature in its too many eyes and let his worry for his friends make him as threatening as possible.
Creature,
he spat.
Name yourself and what you've done.
He would have seemed formidable in any other situation. The beast regarded him with silence, looming, and then its plaster lips spread into a smile far too quickly.
I am the heart of what was here.
As it spoke, it raised an arm, one of 3, and pointed at the fresco panels in order.
An echo that has breached the faith.
The creature's arms finished its path at Sutherland's friends.
And I can still the bravest blade or magic.
The limb folded into the creature's layers, each movement adding to the rasping sound. It rose to its full height, as high as the panels would have allowed, and bellowed its name so loud that dust fell from the walls.
I am regret.
Shade wasn't in the Rotunda anymore. She'd raised her daggers, a feared and respected bard, but when her hand lowered, she was 14 and running through an alley in Dale's End. There was a voice ringing in her ears. She knew it well. She knew every word it would say, and how cruel they would be, because it was hers.
You will never be anything.
Shade screamed, not turning back, because this was the moment that meant she never could.
You'll never be anything,
said her worst fear, and every hate she kept for a life that couldn't do more than scrounge and hope. And far behind her, a mother cried her true name. Voff was lost in the woods, which wasn't new. He wasn't good at this. He'd chosen books, neglected his tracking, and his knots never held. Ahead was the open road. He had his satchel and his maps, and he'd find his way to Val whatever. And he would rarely speak, because then he'd have to tell. And far behind him, a bear in tangled ropes crushed a brother into blood and dirt. The Rotunda was thick, with plaster dust as the demon moved. The creature seemed to reshape itself with every step. It lorded over Sutherland and his immobile friends, its voice a dry, hurtful rasp.
There's so much of me that's here,
it said, clearly not regarding the trio as a threat.
So much regret behind these deeds.
It paused, looking at the hole it left in the 8th panel.
I wonder if you know the dread that's coming.
Regret seemed wistful in that moment, like a child the night before feast day, anticipating promised candy. It closed on Sutherland, smiling. The young warrior let his sword dip as the thing approached, and it got so close that he could feel the dusty breath of its possessed form. He held perfectly still.
The actions here have scarred the world,
said Regret, distending arms to a point above Shade and Voff.
You saw the rise and the fall.
A third arm cradled Sutherland's head, removing his helmet, examining him like a cherished thing.
Why would you risk all your lives and return now?
Sutherland smiled, remembering how every day in Skyhold had been the best day, remembering his vow, why he'd return, and always would.
No regrets,
he said. Sutherland's blade was in the creature's chest before it could react, and with every ounce of strength he had, he drove it to the hilt. The impact pushed the demon backward, and it stumbled on legs it had yet to master. Sutherland pulled his sword back, the blade stained with paint. Regret crashed into the desk and fell with the caretaker's body, flailing like it couldn't tell where its own form ended and the corpse began.
Shade, Voff.
Sutherland yelled. Sorry, Sutherland, not Sunderland, that is a town in England. Sutherland yelled, but his friends didn't move. If he'd disrupted the demon's influence, it wasn't showing yet. He shouldered them closer together so they'd be easier to defend, and readied his blade once more. He'd been lucky, landing a strike that would kill any mortal creature, but demons aren't mortal, and he was already banking too much on luck. Regret raised itself unnaturally, its body simply reforming into a standard position, like a shadow rising without a wall. It looked at Sutherland, but there was no smile this time. It snarled a toothy growl, a sound that, like its shape, was somehow between wolf and dragon. Regret touched the wall, and more plaster from the fresco joined its mass. The wound in its chest remained, but it filled and discoloured with new material. Sutherland glanced upward, more movement, and then, from over the lip, a gloved hand, its thumb raised, he smiled inwardly.
What have you done to my friends?
Sutherland demanded again.
They are lost within themselves, at moments when a choice was made.
Regret narrowed its many eyes on Sutherland.
What are you that makes you stand apart from them?
Sutherland had the creature's interest now, and chose his words slowly, deliberately.
We thought we'd find a demon here. We didn't count on you.
He paused.
But we liked our odds.
He gestured grandly at his frozen friends.
Voth envies no one. Shade has seen pride defeated more than once.
Sutherland cocked his head at the demon.
And me?
He walked to the right, arms open to the damaged fresco.
These events that you stole from, I lived them, here, in Skyhold.
He turned to the opposite wall, stepping theatrically, owning the space between the demon and his friends.
You think you're made of this?
Sutherland pointed at a panel, the intricate fall of the Grey Wardens. Next to it, the fate of an empress. He paused, suddenly thoughtful.
These things shaped me, long before you.
Sutherland set his jaw with pride and anger. Demons he didn't need to avoid right now. He stepped back, carefully positioning himself to the opposite of where the gloved hand had been.
There is nothing here I regret,
he said, utterly certain. He stood defiant, raising his blade.
And you can't fool me.
Regret snarled, stooping to grab the body of the caretaker, hefting it up like a weight drop. Weighed nothing. Sorry, somebody in the chat put mic drop. Waxy. Voth's ward caused a shock to ripple through the demon. It hurled the corpse across the room, slamming it into the wall with a sickening thud.
You think you're immune to me?
Regret screamed, its voice cracking like brittle pottery.
You think that you can take my toys? There is no place where you can hide from my will.
The demon curled its lips in effort, and a spasm shot through Voth and Shade. There was no awareness in their eyes, but they raised their weapons.
Make her know,
whispered Sutherland. He knew how demons manipulated, how they turned allies against each other. Regret had probably done exactly this to the caretaker and his staff, and Sutherland couldn't help but think that as much as he would have regretted it later, he'd rather nail his arm to a wall than hurt his friends.
Their regrets can only grow.
The demon laughed.
Cut them down, and you are mine.
It gestured, and Voth and Shade turned, their faces contorted, as though the spot where Sutherland stood contained something that terrified them. Regret smiled far too wide.
You know I've won. So how will you respond now?
Hey, Nugrudder!
yelled a voice from above. The demon growled and looked up to see two figures standing on the lip of the rotunda. On the left was Rat, Sutherland's dwarven squire, her pale features obscured by a helmet worn low. She held a shrouded container, nearly a third her size. Beside her was another dwarf in a short cuirass and long blacksmith's gloves. She had a mid-length red hair and a headband that supported an odd-face shielded half-helmet. She and Rat grinned wide.
We've got your response,
smiled Dagner, former arcanist to the Inquisition.
Now,
yelled Sutherland. Rat heaved her burden, a large glass amphora, off the lip of the rotunda. It hummed as it fell, the contents a swirling mass of angry yellow and black. Sutherland tackled his friends. Regret raised two of its arms and successfully snagged the container out of the air. It laughed in triumph and glared upward, but its celebration was premature. A rune in the bottom, Dagner's handiwork, sparked red and the amphora shattered, sending shards and angry insects into the demon's face. And then all was chaos. If Sutherland's strike had shaken Regret's concentration, Rat's bees obliterated it. The demon became a roiling mass, blinded and flailing. The debris that had blocked the entrances to the rotunda fell to the ground. Several cages also dropped from the ceiling, smashing on the desk and spilling limbs around the floor.
What in the...
yelled Shade, waking to find a dismembered foot in her lap.
Glad to have you back,
said Sutherland. He leaned in quick to kiss her cheek. Shade grabbed him, her eyes closed, like she needed to know he was real. Voff sat up behind them, holding his head. Regret was a mass of limbs and eyes surrounded by bees. Dagna tossed lightning runes from the lip of the rotunda. Rat had just tipped a bookshelf over the ledge and watched it land on the creature with a muted thud. Sutherland and Shade were kissing. The two passages were clear. The fresco was draining colour. Voth got to his feet and lurched towards an exit.
It's strongest here,
he yelled, focusing only on what mattered.
Lure it out!
What?
Yelled Rat, balancing a chair on the ledge. Sutherland jumped up.
Get it outside,
he yelled.
We're rarely out there.
He pulled Shade to her feet and started after Voff. They didn't make it to the doorway. Voff stumbled, his arm over his eyes, as though he'd suddenly run into thick forest. Regret had recovered and was pointing at him, trying to worm back into his thoughts. Another arm extended towards Shade. She shook her head angrily, but couldn't move.
You will stay and face your choice.
Regret reared up, 20 feet tall.
I am all that you have done, and my will is such that you...
A chair crashed on the demon's head, interrupting its rhythm.
Hands off my knight!
Yelled Rat. The demon righted itself.
Your mistakes are mounting here. Beg, and I will...
Thunk! Another chair cut it off. Rat waved at the demon.
I am the regret of a god, you...
A rune stuck to the bottom of the last chair exploded at the creature's feet. How do you do that one, Lucas?
Hmm?
You got the...
It doesn't just imagine I did...
Regret screamed in rage, slammed its arms into the walls, and heaved itself upward. Huge slabs of plaster and stone fell in its wake.
Oh, pebbles,
said Rat, diving backward through one of the upper corridors that joined to the main keep. The demon clawed after her, sending even larger stone fragments crashing to its floor. It scrabbled over the lip of the rotunda and was gone.
Language.
Sutherland smiled and picked up his blade to follow. Voff stopped him.
We can't just run out there,
he said.
It's after Rat,
said Shade. She stepped forward, glowering.
I owe that thing.
Dagna joined them from the stairs, immediately distracted by the fresco.
It's in our heads,
said Voff.
We can't let it see us.
I didn't come here to disappear,
said Sutherland, tapping his chest. He was annoyed, but not at Voff. Sutherland had suspected that they'd been sent here to fail, to confirm that Skyhold was a problem, and then just disappear, to give officials license to permanently erase the Inquisition's legacy. He wouldn't have it.
We have a plan.
Sutherland gestured at Dagna.
Rat brought the others in. We have to move fast.
Sutherland knew a demon would be trouble, but he couldn't ask for reinforcements without confirming the problem. He needed more like him. Loyal enough to be quiet, small enough to go missing. They had crisscrossed the border, gathering people, the ones who had called Skyhold home. He told Rat to hold back, bringing them in quiet, while he distracted and assessed. They were all supposed to rally and take back the fortress, be the response.
It's not like you thought.
Sutherland looked down. He thought being in Skyhold would be enough. Like old times, it was enough for him. He turned to Dagna.
Everyone know what this is?
They probably heard it in Denerim. That thing is loud.
She paused.
Bees aside, I don't think we know what to do.
Skyhold wasn't enough. Sutherland turned to his friends.
I'll go first,
he said.
But we need to get out of here.
What about Rat?
Said Dagna.
Rat's a runner,
said Sutherland.
She'll run.
Rat ran through the library, crossed the second floor of the Great Hall, and ducked out to the garden balcony. The garden was a walled square. It was large enough to provide the fortress with herbs and alchemical plants, but was mainly designed for contemplation and morale. The main keep loomed on 2 sides, and there was multiple doors on 2 floors. There were no stairs down on the east side, Rat's side. The door behind her exploded, and the bulk of regret forced itself out into the daylight. Rat hopped to the garden wall, edging forward. The demon followed, looming, smiling. It seemed more feral away from the fresco, less articulate. It extended an arm.
Pebbles,
said Rat as she was in the deep roads, huddled behind a low stone mound. It was dark, and that was good. It meant she couldn't see, but she couldn't hear.
I smell you, little one.
She kept her head low. She always kept her head low, and she would run. And far behind her, darkspawn claws ended a paragon's line. Ooh, who is this?
Harrod.
I think that's Harrod, yeah.
Okay. Back, you toothy shite, said a man's voice, thick with accent and anger. A hammer arched through the air, hitting the demon in what passed for its shoulder. 3 of its 7 legs slipped into air, and its head dropped, its jaw smashing on the garden wall. It scrabbled angrily, found no purchase, and slipped into the garden out of view. Rat blinked and reeled away, falling into the opposite direction. She tensed and waited for the cobblestones of the courtyard. Muscled arms caught her, absorbing some of the impact before collapsing with her. Easy there, said Harrod, once blacksmith to the Inquisition. His levers now bore the mark of an Orlesian guard, but a trade with Crestwood had brought him back to Ferelden, and into the path of Sutherland's company and Rat's second group. Harriet smiled through his moustache, then grimaced. His knee had turned painfully beneath him.
Heb.
Rat started.
Little one,
roared the demon from the other side of the wall. Rat covered her mouth, eyes glassy. Is that me?
I think that's you, yeah.
Not going well, aye? Rat shook her head.
It doesn't like me.
By the sound of it, it doesn't like much. Harriet shook them up, but once they were righted, he had to lean on Rat's shoulder. Rat picked up his hammer, and they moved slowly towards the main keep. Let's find you. Harriet shook his head, muddled. The demon had mounted the garden wall and caught a glimpse of him. Rat tackled him into the darkness of the tunnel beneath the Great Hall doors. Regret deftly stepped down from the wall, learning its limbs. It prowled and sniffed, but something caught its attention in the Herald's Rest. It paused, its face trying to look in 2 different directions, largely succeeding. Then it looped away. Rat kept her head low. See, it said Rat there Rat picked his hammer, and now it says Rat kept her head low. So there's a spell mistake there. I was like, anyway.
No, I think
picked up Harrod's hammer.
Harrod's hammer, yeah.
Thank you. Right, thank you. Rat kept her head low.
Morris,
said Sutherland, his smile a mile wide.
You're a sight.
Sutherland had raced out of the rotunda to the central courtyard, straight into a familiar face. Sir Morris, supplier of the greater vowels. He'd been quartermaster to the Inquisition and turned that honour into a network that armoured southern Thedas. His moustached hair now had a hint of stressful grey, his lean torso a hint of luxury. He frequently travelled the border roads he now regretted.
You certainly know how to liven up a man's life,
said Morris.
No, sorry, I meant shorten.
It looks bad,
said Sutherland.
But we're not done yet.
Done? I don't know how to start.
Morris looked at his pushcart. He'd wanted to help, but on this trip he'd travelled for trade, not supplying a hunt. Sutherland put a grateful hand on the man's shoulder, then turned and whistled. They were joined by Voff, Shade, and Dagna.
I'll make it right,
said Sutherland.
We need to set up where it can't see. Lob attacks.
It won't be enough,
said Voff.
This creature can...
He was cut off by a crashing sound in the west courtyard. Rat and Harriet hobbled out from under the ramp to the Great Hall.
It's in the tavern.
Rat choked.
The tavern?
Said Morris gravely.
Maker have mercy on it.
The Herald's Rest had served many on the first day of their freedom, and the last day of their lives. It was not a place where doubts were allowed to linger. One man had seen to that. Before he left to build his own border roadhouse. Regret smashed through the main doors, looking for the movement that had drawn it. It found a plainly dressed dwarf, bald, with a short, dark beard and groomed moustache. He was calmly wiping the bar. The demon reached, feeling many threads of regret. It paused, considering its meal.
Castless,
it said.
You have done things.
Save it, said Cabot, former operator of the Herald's Rest. He raised a bottle as if proposing a toast, then stuffed the bar rag down its neck. I'm a bartender. I drown regrets. Cabot lit the rag off a candle and hurled the makeshift cocktail at the demon. It landed by its feet, but the creature easily slid itself backward to avoid the low flames. It smiled and readied an arm, but hesitated when a tightly corseted elf stepped from behind the stairs. Her brown hair was long, but tied severely. Her features calm but sharp. She held a small pouch that she opened with a sharpened fingernail, revealing a sparkling silver powder. Careful, said Cabot, gesturing to Elan the Mal, former apothecary to the Inquisition. She knows you, but she's just a carrier. Cabot dove between the bar as Elan gently blew the contents of the pouch across the flames. The powder ignited into a glout of fire that left white ash across the seared face of regret. It screamed as its surface cracked, sections of plastic glazed tart. The damage was superficial, but the creature was enraged that it couldn't see. Ellen skirted the flailing creature, and she and Cabot ran for the door. Beautiful as always, my dear, said Cabot.
Did you hear me? Oh, I guess you
sorry.
did. Sorry.
No, sorry.
Discord is a bit...
Yeah.
I think Discord doesn't pick up on the sounds.
No, it's best to put on push to talk for that.
That's fine.
Oh, right.
Ellen replied in her way, as he loved. Regret's scream had rattled all of Skyhold, especially the lower courtyard, where Sutherland's plan was falling apart. Is that me? Yeah, it probably is me. It'll come out of there spitting mad, he said.
We can't just pile on,
said Shade.
It'll turn us against each other.
Have we even heard it?
Said Dagna.
It's regret,
said Voff.
It finds your doubts, feeds on them. Get stronger.
Finds you? Like Darkspawn?
Said Rat, regretting mocking the creature earlier. The demon roared in the tavern.
That!
Said Voff, pointing.
Don't do that!
Rat cringed and tried to think of baked bread. Don't we all?
But I did hurt it.
Said Sutherland.
By the fresco. I impaled it. That wound stayed.
You chose Skyhold.
Said Voff.
It attacked the one thing you've never doubted.
We followed you here.
Said Shade.
It's not the same.
Sutherland let the talk fade into the background. He looked around at the fortress where his life had changed so thoroughly, but it wasn't Skyhold that had changed him. He'd have been in the kitchens if it hadn't been for one person. The Inquisitor had taken a chance on his potential, but more than that, the Inquisitor had stood for him, for them all, made them feel like they were worth it and could help, Make them look forward. Sutherland swore under his breath. Of course Skyhold wasn't enough. He'd brought people back, but that wasn't the same as inspiring them. He'd looked backward, thought only of what he needed. He looked at his friends as they argued. He'd let them down. It felt awful, as bad as he'd ever felt. And then he saw potential.
Shade,
he yelled, shocking everyone into silence.
What did it make you see?
What?
Regret,
he said.
You were ready to attack. What did it make you see?
Shade looked down, silent. Her lip quivered.
That bad,
said Sutherland.
The worst. My worst.
Voff and Rat nodded grimly. Sutherland looked across Skyhold. Regret roared. It would wear them down, pick them off. He had to show them they could win.
Right,
he said.
It heals fast, but it can be hurt. I need to hit it hard. Do you trust me?
He looked at all of his friends in turn.
Do you all trust me?
They looked back, confused, as if to say, why waste time asking? Of course we do. All except Rat. She saluted.
Good,
he said.
Because I need you. I need you to guide it to me. And no matter what happens, you work together, and I'll stand for you.
Cabot and Alan looked down from the edge of the west courtyard. Are we killing a demon? Asked Cabot.
With some help,
said Sutherland.
Think you can piss it off?
Inevitably,
said Alan.
Right,
said Sutherland. He turned to Rat.
Get its attention. Run it to me at the stables. Don't think, just run.
It doesn't like me.
She said.
Fast as you can.
She said timidly.
Sorry, that was fast as you can.
He put his arms on her shoulder. He put his hand on her shoulder. Blah, blah.
Trust me.
Rat looked down at Harriet's hammer, still in her hands. She took 3 slow steps, then ran under the ramp, head down. Sutherland gestured up at Cabot and Alan.
Keep it off my squire.
They nodded and ducked back.
Arcanist,
said Voff.
Join me by the gate. Save me a piece for study,
said Dagner, waving as she followed. I'm a bit hobbled, said Harriet, but with a fast cart.
We'll throw what we can,
said Morris nervously. Sutherland watched them go and readied his sword. Shade stared.
What about me?
She asked.
By the stables.
He said, avoiding her gaze.
Where you can watch me.
She grabbed his shoulder, turning him so she could see his face. Her eyes widened.
You're going to let it get to you.
I'm taking a chance,
he said. Sutherland took her hands in his.
I'm standing for them. If it goes wrong...
He placed her hands on her hips, on the hilt of her daggers.
Don't let me hurt them.
You're not enough,
said Shade.
Not alone.
He smiled and gently brushed a smear of plastered dust from her cheek.
I'm not alone,
he said. He heard the chaos beginning in the upper courtyard and smiled. Then he turned, heading for the stables.
With a response. I'm responding.
Regret flowed out of the tavern doors. Its eyes had reformed, and it blinked in the sunlight. It looked for prey, for the doubts it needed to heal itself. It found Rat. She was standing in the center of the courtyard, her head low.
I run,
she said, her fist tight on Harriet's hammer.
Little one,
said Regret. It stepped forward. Fire erupted to its left. It didn't bother to avoid it. Cabot was half hidden by a barrel, but his presence and nature was no longer a surprise. The demon extended an arm, and Cabot fell to a knee. Ellen readied her pouches, but another arm stilled her as well. Too many eyes looked back at Rat, annoyed.
I run,
she yelled, shaking.
Good,
said Regret, and leaped. Rat rolled to the side, head low. The demon passed, bemused. When it landed, it didn't bother turning its body. It simply reformed, its head facing backward. It looped after her, toying, snapping. Rat turned past the tavern to the south wall. She ducked down a small set of stairs, but was soon exposed in the centre courtyard. The stone closed in, became the deep roads, but it didn't matter where she was. Her knight had asked her to run, so she ran. Regret was puzzled, then growled low. It had briefly enjoyed toying with her, but this was unexpected. It focused and Rat slowed, but she didn't stop, and it was no longer amused. It bounded after her, straight into a gauntlet of her friends. Voth hurled ice from the gate, his staff crackling with frost. The ground grew slick in scattered places, and Dagna tossed runes, charging the earth with lightning. Rat weaved between, but the demon couldn't keep its many legs clear. Shocks travelled up its body, enraging it. It turned to face them, and something hit it from the opposite direction. Morris pushed his cart past with Harriet perched atop, throwing houseware. Another shock, another volley. Cabot and Alan stirred. The rat wouldn't stop. More distraction, more noise. Regret had had enough. Sutherland was at the stables. He touched the frame where they had found the caretaker, tracing the blood with his finger. He thought of the Inquisitor.
You stood for us,
he said quietly. Shade shifted nervously on the nearby stairs, the stairs to the kitchen, where Sutherland could have started, and now where he might end. He smiled at that, then turned to look down the length of Skyhold.
Just like you,
he said to himself, and he walked forward, slowly, deliberately. He saw flames at the Herald's Rest, chaos in both courtyards, a demon turning, growing arms for each of his friends. Even Dagna's smile faded, all because he'd brought them here. Sutherland stopped and held his sword upright in front of them, the blade flat against his forehead. He closed his eyes and breathed deep.
I regret,
he yelled as loud as he could. The demon froze, its dragon canine ears twitching. It was split 7 ways, trying to size all these mortals at once. Trying to still. It was frustrated, frenzied, but Sutherland's call was like a beacon.
I regret acting alone,
yelled Sutherland. Regret turned to face the young warrior, its many eyes shifting around its head, centering on him. The one it couldn't touch. It could kill them all in turn, but its new sensation was so tempting and so familiar. It was as if Sutherland was echoing the regret that had drawn it to Skyhold in the first place. Its arms grew more talons.
I regret using my friends,
yelled Sutherland. The demon sneezed like it had been doused with a strong spice. It ran at Sutherland, leaving his friends, passing Rat, and as it ran, it reached and easily plucked at Sutherland's open mind. It drew out the doubt that would give it leverage and sustenance. The fool wasn't even looking. It hated and pitied these mortals so much. Regret leaped at its prey, teeth and talons bared like a bramble. Sutherland's eyes were closed. He seemed helpless, and then, like his friends had said, he saw the moment of his greatest regret, the moment that made him doubt more than anything. He saw Skyhold, his friends hurting, and a demon.
I regret now,
he yelled. Sutherland turned his sword edge on. He set his back foot, braced his weapon against his shoulder, and leaned in, and he let regret come. Regret expected resistance. It had never been accepted, never owned. What started as a leap was now a forward fall, and it flailed against its own momentum. It hit the blade jaw first, bisecting body and cleaving limbs. The creature spit wide. Sutherland was quickly enveloped, surrounded and buffeted by animated by animated plasters, and for a moment he had the strangest view of his life in Skyhold. fragments of the fresco passing before his eyes, corrupted by the demon, now severed again. What had he done? His sword began to drag in the heart of the beast, forcing him back. It found the gap between Gorgot and Pauldron and cut into his shoulder. He fell to his knees, the weight of regret wearing him down. But he kept going. He stood for his friends. Even from the ground, he'd stand for them.
Just like you.
Regret washed over Sutherland. He fell backward, tumbling, and then all was quiet. He blinked. He was on his back. The sky was pale and clear overhead. The banners on the ramparts were still. The chill remained. Sutherland's head and heart were pounding. Had he failed? Had regret healed as fast as he'd cut? He didn't know if he'd had another strike in him. Then he heard something moving. Many things were moving. He propped himself up on one arm and looked behind him. The demon was reeling. It hadn't been cleanly halved, and a third of its bulk trailed behind it. It was missing several limbs and was having trouble forming more. It was reaching, searching for the doubts that would heal it, restore its strength. It had found Sutherland's company, and it went hungry. Shade was a blur. She rolled in low, ducking talons and punched a horizontal cut with her left blade, opening it wide by lunging up with her right. Her daggers were wet with a liquid he knew not to ask her about, and it seared regret with alchemical hate. Voth swore in Elven and channeled a spell that hurt just to feel it cast. The demon's surface rippled and cracked as will became pain. Rat ran between, swinging Harriet's hammer, mashing a foot into a painted stain on the cobbles. They cut and cast and crushed together, and every wound stayed. Sutherland had joined the Inquisitor and never regretted it. Sutherland's friend had joined his company, and he'd just reminded them why. The demon scrambled backward from the onslaught. It would reach the Rotunda. It would sleep and plan and come back stronger. This was all their fault. They would learn how smart it was. The regret that had drawn to Skyhold had a very long memory. And then it hit walls made of flames and runes and a half-filled cart. Dagna and the others blocked its escape. They were the little people, who supposedly didn't matter. But inspiration had once made them the heart of Skyhold, and now they were again. Regret stood no chance. The doubt it fed on had evaporated. It flailed and gasped, and its legs crumbled beneath it. It fell to the ground by the main gate and was still. Sutherland shakily got to his feet.
Did I miss anything?
He said. He stumbled. Helpful shoulders were instantly at his side, supporting him, swarming him with relieved handshakes and back slaps. Everyone crowded, all except Shade. She stood, daggers at her sides, still furious from the fight. She brushed a hand across her nose and sniffed. Sutherland wondered if he'd rather face regret again. And then her daggers were on the ground, and she was in his arms, almost knocking him over. He held her as tight as he could, despite his bloodied shoulder, and as the chaos faded, he felt the pall. He felt the pall cast over the pale. As the chaos faded, he felt the pall cast over the fortress. The cold and stillness start to lift. He'd done more. Just like he'd vowed, it had just taken a while to realize what his promise truly was. And then they all looked back at regret. Its dismembered limbs were now strange piles of dry plaster. Some of the pieces were large enough to see details of the fresco. A careful hand might paste them all back on the wall, restore it, though that didn't occur to anyone in the moment. The core of the creature lay on its side. It's too many eyes drifting unfocused. It could reform, given time, but at this point even a few simple wounds would return its mind and will across the veil. For a moment, the sunlit illuminated something within. A silver of the spirit that might have been. Not the opposite of regret. A different flavour or shade. Contemplation? Introspection? It felt the echo of the actions that had summoned it. There might have been a better choice, said a thought it had not been allowed. Sutherland limped into its view, as did Voff, Shade and Rat. Dagner was collecting fragments for testing. Sir Morris kept his cart at a discreet distance, despite Harriet urging him forward. Cabot and Elan reminisced behind the bar.
Go quietly, Spirit,
said Voff without judgment. Then he brought the small blade from his satchel and stabbed the demon in its side, holding it there. Shade spat and said nothing. She picked up one of her daggers and drove it deep, staring the creature in the eye. She would never say that it felt good, but it did. Sutherland hesitated. Regret would linger. He knew. You couldn't let it just lie there. For a moment he thought of the farm, his father, and the day he really left. The demon stirred.
I knew I'd known you once before,
said Regret.
That's not my mistake, you taste,
said Sutherland, returning to the present.
It's yours.
He pushed his sword down, leaning on the crossguard. The demon chuckled, its blood flattening, layers of plaster losing tension.
Succulent.
It wheezed. It glimpsed the spirit realm beyond the veil, and a farewell glimmer, familiar, and somehow far brighter than what had drawn it here. It knew where it would go. Rat stepped up, her head high. Sutherland looked at his squire and his company, his friends. He smiled at the direction he'd tried to give them, like he'd been given. Regret had taken Skyhold. They were all his response. He nodded at Rat. Rat hefted her hammer, brought it down on the demon, and a lazy breeze blew in the garden. Who would like to read the divine's letter?
I'll do it.
Go for it.
If no one else wants.
Go for it, Emily.
All right. By the order of the Most Holy, her divine Victoria, you who have served are to be commended. And though the herald guides you no more, and legion and name are retired, know that you served good and true. Change comes, both to and because of the Inquisition, and we are blessed with the ability to accept and move on, to leave dread and regret behind. Know that Skyhold remains, its fires bright. Forevermore, it is where you are from, not where you are bound. Attempt no travel there. Let the past guide you to a new direction, and be well.
Woo! There we go.
Yay!
Callback day.
Hey.
Well done, everybody. Reading that was really fun. I really liked the incorporation of characters there as well. It was brilliant.
That's great.
Oh, let me just get some water. So, any immediate thoughts on Callback, folks? I think it's mainly the demon, isn't it?
I have so many thoughts.
Here, let's just jump straight into it.
That was the first time I'd read that story. That was great.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I haven't read Tevinter Nights at all.
Oh.
Did you remember like the characters as they're brought up, or was it kind of like, who are you again? Because I remembered Cabot's the dwarf in the herald's rest, isn't he? Is he the annoyed?
Yeah.
Is he the pissed
He's
off
the
dwarf?
bartender.
Yeah, he's the bartender. He's pissed off.
Yeah.
I can't remember Ellen. She was the apothecary. Okay.
Yeah, she was in the gardens, that place where you only go twice, once for a cutscene and then to talk to Morrigan.
I remember Harriet straight away, the blacksmith, because all right, it's good.
He was also in Haven though.
Yeah, so he's like one of the first, because one of the main miscellaneous quests is literally talk to the blacksmith, and that's him. Whereas kind of like after Haven, everybody changes, obviously because they die. But like these characters, I remember little less because of the Skyhold transition. But yeah, like Cabot, Harriet, and I know Voff. I can't remember, to be honest. Voff.
Because he doesn't say anything.
Yeah, he doesn't say anything ever. But he was he was standing constantly next to Sutherland.
I think Rat's the one I don't know the most. Sorry, you go, Lisa.
Funny story. When I read Tevinter Nights, I had actually never met Sutherland before. I think I missed him in my first couple playthroughs. So I was like,
shit.
who the hell is this guy? Am I supposed to know him?
I missed him every playthrough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I've
that
never
was a
come across him.
Yeah.
yeah. I would recommend doing his quests because they're great, but they're mostly just war table
yeah.
missions. So
I remember meeting him and actually not really liking him. He reminded me of Comrade Werner in Mass Effect Race 2, optimistic and happy, and you're like, okay, all right. But again, it's cool to see this development.
That's fair. I really like Sutherland though.
Yeah.
I think I really like Callback. It's one of my favorites because I think it's a nice goodbye to Skyhold.
Yes.
And at the same time, it's kind of foreshadowing what one of the main themes of Veilguard, and we didn't know that at the time when Tevinter Nights came out. But it's since been revealed that regret is one of the biggest themes in Veilguard. So, yeah. That's why I really like it, and it's just fun seeing all these characters interact with each other.
Yeah, and even Dagna's mentioned as well, which is brilliant, just to be like, hey, obviously she'll be with Sarah. Well, not obviously, she would be with Sarah at this point too. I think if it's post-Trespasser. It's kind of sad learning about the state of Skyhold. I know, like, we all have our own kind of headcanons of what happens to our own Inquisitors post-Trespasser, whereas this kind of being the codified by our own canon. But at the same time, it is. I do like this different aspect of the story because it's like actually this is what does happen to Skyhold eventually. Kind of like the canon way of what happens to Fenris after DA2. Like he does leave Kirkwall. Everybody kind of leaves Kirkwall. What the writer's impression of that was of like, yeah, even Hawk leaves him at some point. Obviously, still in a romantic relationship, but like still to some degree, Fenris kind of gets a little bit abandoned, or everybody leaves Kirkwall to some degree. So I do like the kind of ballsy nature of being like, right, actually, this is a story that we're going to talk about that is based on the ending or based on a huge part of Inquisition. And as Lisa said, it kind of segues that Inquisition aspect, but then also introducing the new dynamics of the game with a huge, tiny plot Easter egg, like the 9th or the 8th fresco that was unfinished, that only really hardcore fans cared about and were like, what the hell's that? What is going on there? And then the fact that Lucas Christiansen went, oh yeah, actually, let's make that a short story and clear that plot there, and then add even more things to it, kind of confirming the ending with Mafal and Solas, what really happened there with Solas absorbing Mafal, obviously, but then that actually having some kind of canine draconic effect. And then giving us more, as Lisa said, with the theme of the Veilguard, with regret and so forth. So yeah, I really like it too. It's a great, not as obviously not too scary, but it's got that horror borderline of just regret chasing everybody and this absolute manifestation of what this demon is and what it represents. And I like how it ties everybody together. Of they have their own feelings of regret and they have their own memories that they're drawn back to. Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I really do.
I would say it's bittersweet.
Go on, Lisa.
Yeah, I was gonna say I would say the story is bittersweet.
Yeah. For sure.
Because of the themes of regret, and hearing the state of Skyhold kind of makes me both nostalgic and sad.
Yeah.
Because I love the place, but it's also really sweet, and how it ends, and it's kind of an end and a new beginning. That's how I see it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good. It's a good callback. Sorry, but it's but it's also good at the foreshadowing aspect of it too, and even like the way it describes Skyhold, it's so viscerally in my head of yep, that's where the kitchens are, and I can tell the stables are right there, and obviously because we know it so well, but like even I mean hearing about the Herald's Rest being on fire is like no, but like. How visceral it is, and even explaining the Rotunda, I just was thinking about my Inquisitor jumping off there, landing on the table to an Isolas every single time.
Same.
Yeah.
So with the regret demon taking the form of the what we know to be basically, I guess, the Dreadwolf dragon form.
Yeah.
Does that imply that with everything that Solus must have been feeling when he was making the frescoes, that like Solus was his regret was in the art? Does that make sense? Is that kind of what that's implying?
Yeah.
Yes,
that breaks my heart.
yeah, it's
I know, right?
I can't remember the exact thing that so I am the regret of a god, and what was it particularly that he regretted? I can't I think it's a bunch of things that it does say in this, but Lisa, do you know what in particular Solas regretted? Does anybody know what particularly Solas? Pardon me, Solas regretted.
Doesn't the demon say something about how there could have been another way?
Yeah, it's
like
and using friends as well.
I don't quite remember. I'd have to look that up.
I will look it up on my video script because I did put what Solas regret. I think it's because I'm thinking like if it's the final ending bit, does he just regret using Mafal or absorbing Mafal's power? Because that makes sense if that's related to that mural and that's that scene. I will find out. After
Kind of makes me think of the that gameplay trailer where Solas says, "What is it? Do you think I would do this if there was some other better option?"
Yeah, yeah.
And it kind of now makes me look at it of like Solas is really trying to convince himself at this point, isn't he?
Yeah, that is correct.
Yeah.
That is right.
I guess it's a combination of he regrets what he did, putting up the veil, and then he also regrets having to take it down, especially if he befriends or romances the Inquisitor and believes that the people of modern Thedas are actual real people, and regrets having to basically kill this world in order to restore his own.
I think that's spot on, and I think the reason why it's not specified in the book actually is because give your own interpretation of that. Does he regret breaking up with the villain? Of course he will do. But you can have so many different spins on that. He regrets what he's doing. Well, he doesn't regret what he's doing because he hasn't done it yet, but he regrets what happened in the past. He regrets the death of Mafal and all those kind of things. So I think you can put your own spin on it a little bit with regards to Soul Villain 2, I think.
I'm gonna have to head off because I have to.
No worries at all, Lucas. Thank you, Lucas, for joining us. I realize it's late for you. And thank you, Lucas.
Thank you, everyone. See you next time, whenever that might be.
Oh yeah, you can come next week if you want. You can do Dorian if you want.
Oh yeah. That would be lovely.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, see you around.
Lucas.
Bye bye.
Bye.
There goes our demon boy. I will just.
He is so good.
He was brilliant, isn't he?
He does unnerving so well.
He needs to be in all of them. But yeah, I think the regret thing, like, I think it is just a combination of things, but generally, his state of mind on what has happened in the past. And then that tying to Sutherland's regret as well. Like, Sutherland said that he regrets using his friends. He regrets bringing them here to begin with. I don't think Solas regrets... Would Solas regret using the Inquisitor? I'm not sure. Probably.
I kind of feel like maybe if it's possible, kind of like a preemptive regret. He regrets knowing what he's going to have to do. He regrets knowing what is going to happen to the people he cares about.
Yeah. Is there a word? Is that a word? Is there a word for being regretful of something you're going to do?
Ooh, Google.
Yeah.
It's more like anticipated regret. Dread.
Yeah. Dread. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I do think it's funny that dread and regret were mentioned.
Yeah,
like in
even
the same
in the Divine's
sentence
letter.
we're close to.
Even in the Divine's letter, what does she say at the end? We will not.
They're really hitting our heads with it, weren't they?
It's like, if you didn't know, what does it say?
Dread and regret.
To leave dread and regret behind. To leave dread and it's like,
I wonder
we're
what
leaving
they're
it. Yeah. Well, it's
the
like
demon says something, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Something interesting though about that demon and Sutherland, which I didn't quite understand. Like when I first kind of skimmed through it, because this was the first time I read it, back front to back, I guess you could say, is that Sutherland and Regret knew each other, but it almost sounded like in a different way than how Regret knew one another. Like I almost got this. Was it implied that the monster is not his dad, but some kind of like? Because the last line is, because we don't know exactly what happened with Sutherland, right? Like what was his regret other than just he regretted using his friends? I mean, because he said he was.
It was about his farm, wasn't it? Yeah, it was like, because he was thinking. Let me find it. It was near the end, wasn't it?
Wasn't it like choosing to leave to join the Inquisition or something?
Because he did that out of like he wanted to do that. Like he wasn't. He said he was running, but he was running to find the Inquisition to help his farm, and they did that. It wasn't like that was out of regret. What did it say?
I think.
I knew I'd known you before.
I think it was more that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go. No, you go, Lisa. You go.
I think it was more is that he had no regrets specifically, and that he felt guilty for dragging his friends here because he felt like he owed the Inquisition because the Inquisitor helped him when he needed it, and not necessarily his friends. So the Inquisition helped him, so he wants to help the Inquisition, or at least what used to be the Inquisition, and now he's dragging his friends along, and that's what he regrets. Because they are not here for the Inquisition. Yeah. They are here for Sutherland. They are here for his friend. They're following him. So he feels responsible. And I think that is where his guilt comes from. I think that's his regret. That's how I took it.
Yeah. Because he doesn't regret anything about Skyhold or anything like that. He loves being there. He loves all that stuff.
It's just when regret says, I knew I'd known you once before. That's what's throwing me off.
Well, just before that is when it says that
for a moment he thought of the farm, his father, and the day he really left. The demon stirred. Regret would linger. You couldn't let it lie there. It's like it's lingered in his life before, despite him not being regretful of Skyhold. That's what I'm also confused about too. But what I do like is he does say it's not my regret anymore, it's your regret, and then dead, as if like that's in the past. But like I also don't get the regret on his farmer's side stuff, because it didn't seem like that was a regretful thing.
Go back just before that, and that's where you see a slither of the spirit that might have been before it was corrupted into regret. And it says not the opposite of regret, a different flavour or shade, contemplation, introspection. So is it maybe that where it says I knew I'd known you before? Do you think it's referring more to that as opposed to regret?
That's possible. Yeah,
that is possible. Yeah, it's actually you know what, this spirit has changed, and while it is named regret, obviously it's not going to be called something else because they can't, you know, maybe it is that there might have been a better choice, instead of thought it was not allowed. Yeah, potentially. But that is a confusing bit too. He knew Sutherland as introspection, is what Waxy's saying. Yeah? Yeah? Yeah, because maybe this regret demon's spirit changed. Well, clearly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Something else I thought that was really interesting is this line. It's on my book, it's 133, but it said, regret expected resistance. It had never been accepted, never owned.
Ooh.
I think that's really interesting. Everyone else is trying to ignore it or suppress it. But then how Sutherland calls it to him is that he accepts it instead of resisting it.
Yeah.
And I just think that's really, and it almost then because then when he fights it, it almost seems like it sort of washes over him and through him, and then he lets it pass through him like you would let an emotion pass through you.
Yeah.
And then it's already on to a wave, and then it's already on to the next, and that's when everyone is like, you know, piling on and you know, stabbing it with things.
Yeah.
And it seems like that's how he sort of beat it himself, is that he didn't let it. He let it in.
He didn't fear it.
Went out.
He wasn't like everybody else who was like, oh shit. He actually went, you know what, I'm going to actually fully experience this emotion. And that's how he defeated it, by actually recognizing his regret. That's what I like about this, actually. He defeats regret by just recognizing his regret, which is really it's really cathartic. Whereas everybody else is too afraid to actually take it on, or is too consumed by it, or they are too full of regret to actually, I don't know, because like the other ones are instantly taken to this kind of childhood throwback thing, whereas Sutherland wasn't, so he clearly didn't have enough regret at that point, but then once he lets that feeling overcome, he was able to defeat it. But
I think he knew he needed to do this in order to save his friends.
Yeah.
Something else that's really interesting, this little tidbit they have when Regret is chasing Rat.
Oh yeah.
About how as it's getting farther and farther away from the fresco, they said it's less articulate.
Yeah.
So it's losing its form because it doesn't have
the source.
Yes, a source to cling to, an emotion to cling to, I guess. It's trying, that's probably another reason why it's trying to follow Rat so much, is otherwise it's going to lose its nice little creepy.
Yeah, because Rat's like the most scared one, or the most one full of regret. It's like, actually, yeah. Because literally, it was Voth who silenced Rat. Oh yeah, think of Baked Bread. Don't do that. Don't think of those thoughts, because you're gonna, you know, Regret's gonna come and feed on you. Think of Baked Bread instead. So it seems Rat is the one who is most fearful, almost full of regret.
Yeah, definitely the most nervous one.
Yeah. And that's why it chases after her, because it's like, actually, I can feed on you the most.
Have any of you watched Spirited Away?
Yes.
Do you remember? Okay, I don't remember what the name was, but that like black monster thing that would eat.
What's it called?
And so a visual cut in my head when it's chasing after is that thing, just like with all of its legs, and it's just vomiting everywhere.
I think I know. I haven't. Well, I've watched it like years ago, but I think I know what you mean.
What's it called? The monster.
I've seen images of it before.
Is it No Face?
Yeah, No Face.
Yeah, I'm gonna show chat. I'll show YouTube everybody. This is No Face from Spirited Away. If you don't know, it is this creepy. Yeah.
But I mean, there's lots of carryover. When I first was skimming through this, like I told you guys the other day, the first thing in my head was, oh my god, this is just like the Babadook.
Yeah.
Less scary.
Floor is yours, Emily. Dive in.
Yeah.
What? Oh. Well, I did write some notes. I didn't rewatch it.
I did not find time to watch it yesterday, but I do not mind a little bit of spoilers for the Babadook.
All right, well, I hope the chat doesn't mind. I mean,
chat does not mind. Chat loves. Oh, okay, chat. We may have some spoilers for the Babadook. I hope that's okay, but it is needed for this exploration.
Yes. So the Babadook and Regret have things in common because they're both manifestations of emotions that are monsters. So what's interesting though is actually it's very similar in that how they're defeated. The longer you, in this case, I guess some backstory is Amelia, the main character, loses her husband in a car crash as they're on their way to the hospital to deliver her baby. And so her baby is born, his birthday is when her husband dies. Right. And so she can never celebrate her child's birthday because it's the death day of her husband. And so, I don't know, they have the very complicated mother-son relationship. He's very little, he has problems socially, as one would. And she finds this book, this children's book, and it's like about the Babadook and this monster. And one thing they always say is you can never get rid of the Babadook.
Right.
And apparently it's an allegory for grief. You can only live with it.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
I see why you drew that parallel now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so by the end of the movie, they're fighting it. They're trying to, like, even her son is like building traps for it. They're trying to physically fight it, and it keeps getting stronger. Like, even the more they suppress it, it just gets stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
And what's really creepy is that it comes out of her basement. I mean, it dresses up in her husband's clothes because that's where she keeps all of her husband's stuff is in the basement. And by the end, they learn that it's actually not something to be feared. It's something to be comforted. It's something to be dealt with. It's something to be fed.
Oh, flippin' heck.
And so, then it becomes kind of like a pet. Anyway.
Little Babadook.
Babadook. Little, yes.
So what you're saying is Solus needs to concept that he doesn't have to tear down the veil, and then we keep him as a pet.
And we feed him little fruit cakes.
Yes, feed him frilly cakes. Yes.
This was the line that I had written down, is that grief grows by suppressing it, by not confronting it. It must be accepted.
Oh, flipping heck.
By the end of the movie, the main character has isolated it into the basement where she keeps her husband things and she feeds it worms and comforts it. Apparently worms because it symbolizes the full cycle of life. I don't really know much about worms symbolism, but whatever. And so it's her grief manifested is what it is. Her grief and depression.
That is such a brilliant idea for a villain or a monster.
Yeah.
That is brilliant.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And she can never defeat it. She just has to, because it comes from
live with it. Sorry.
She lives with it. She lives with it every day. So it's making peace with your demons. Because once we lose control over them, they gain control over us.
For sure.
So, that's all I have.
That is fantastic. That's brilliant, though. And I mean,
great.
even Solas, so he literally represents emotions, pride or humility. Humility? No, wisdom. Wisdom or pride, which I see wisdom also as humility. It's kind of similar. Sorry, wisdom. Yeah, wisdom and humility are similar because, like, I think to be humble is to be wise, going vice versa. But literally, Solas embodies emotions, as is. We speculate the nature of a lot of the elven gods, because like Elganan literally means spirit of vengeance. Does Elganan manifest a god of vengeance, a spirit of vengeance? And I think Dragon Age does that really well with exhibiting characters with strong emotions. Obviously Cole with compassion, justice, Mafal also having the embodiment of justice or / vengeance as well, because she has tales of being really good and tales of being really bad with kind of recalls to justice or vengeance. So I think something in line could certainly be the case for Dragon Age. Just with the current narrative anyway, with Pride, with Solas, with the Elven Gods, and with that representation. Does that mean that Solas would have to confront his own demons? Are we going to get like a come to Jesus or a come to the Maker moment for Solas, where he's going to confront himself, like figuratively, maybe physically, maybe actually? I really have wanted for so long is for Solas to physically become the Dread Wolf, but what if like the physical Dread Wolf form is in the waking world or the Fade, and he has to actually see that absolute beast that is a manifestation of his feelings? I would love that dynamic, just to see the actual chaos. But in the same line of that, I feel like he's already accepted what he's going to become, and he already is aware of that, because he literally said he walks the Dinan Sharal, and he's not going to have Lavelle and see what he's going to become, and he knows what he's going to do. And as we see from the opening of the Veilguard, he's doing it without a care. But maybe there's going to be another way where we can really, really show him, or change his mind, or show him what he is embodying. I don't know how BioWare are going to remedy that.
I wouldn't necessarily say he's doing it without a care. I think he cares very much.
He does.
He just sees no other way.
Sorry, I don't mean that belligerently. What I'm saying, like
I know.
He's now doing it like, right, I'm doing this now. It's been 10 years. I do care about Lavelle, I do care about this world, and I care a lot about the elves of this world. However, I would like, I like, now he is doing it like, right, daggers out, phase coming down, don't care, gonna remove the elven gods into another prison, and then we're doing this. So with a care, but at the same time, he also is like for me, he's not gonna let anything stop him, as we know. So far, nothing is gonna stop him. Not even his own one true love is gonna stop him. So it's like, okay, he's on that journey. He's aware of what he's gonna become. So would facing himself really be an obstacle or a life-altering journey where he'd be like, actually, I can see what I'm becoming, and I don't like that anymore? I wonder how that dynamic is going to go down.
Well, that's just made me think of, was it in one of the Game Informer articles where it said that Solas sees a lot of himself in Rook?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Good.
I think that's going to be a huge theme in Veilguard.
For sure. Yes.
I think so too.
That's a bet. Okay. There we go then. Sorted.
Maybe Rook has come to Jesus.
Yeah. Yes. Rook's his come to Jesus moment. Yeah. Come to the Maker. Meet Sandal.
Yeah.
Sandal will change lives.
What has me curious is he knows, he's aware of what he's to become.
Yeah.
Let's just say we don't know what form that will take. But I wonder if he knows how much control he will be of himself.
Ooh,
that's what I'm wondering.
That's also a good point. Yeah. Like, I mean, that gets me instantly thinking about, like, if he becomes blighted, if he's in the Fade and he's stuck there, and we have a vengeful Rook who doesn't give a shit about Solas and goes, I don't care. And then Solas is like, I need to find any way to get out of here or destroy the Veil, so I'm going to start munching on red lyrium. Figuratively, but literally. Like, he would be able to destroy the Veil or able to have a lot of power, become blighted, but he wouldn't be in control, for sure, after that. He'd get what he wants, but he'd be in no shape or way of control.
Yeah, we know he expects to not survive it at the end.
Also true. He walks the journey of death.
Yeah.
And, I mean, if that regret demon was spawned from his emotions, and, I mean, I don't know if he's probably not aware of that regret demon back at Skyhold. Otherwise, I feel like he would have done something about it. Or maybe he wouldn't. That's a line I'll have to walk later.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't know about it, then I would say he's not in all that much control that he would like to believe in.
Well, he's an emotional mess.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Just like the rest of us. Most relatable anti-hero ever. He is just an emotional mess who's full of regret and dread.
I honestly can't wait to see more of his murals, man.
Yeah. Oh.
I can't wait to see.
I'm excited to see the one where he's taking Llewellyn's Valasleen off and there's just tears everywhere.
Oh, I hope there is one of that. There has to be, right?
I think if we're having like a decision where we're like, yes, you did romance Llewellyn, there has to be a scene of that. Surely.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, just seeing what's happened in the past 10 years of his plan would be great.
Yeah. And in Trespasser, there's murals of him taking Valasleen off other elves, so I'm pretty sure there has to be one of Llewellyn as well.
Even like maybe it would offer bits on what happened with the Red Lyrium Idol, because I know that's I think that plot's gone now because of the blade. I don't know. Again, we're gonna find out. Maybe that could just be answered in the murals of he got it and it turned into this blade, and this is the blade to end all wars, and yes, it's actually the same blade. We'll see.
Yeah. Meredith and Corypheus are in that one mural. The one with the Dreadwolf in the middle, eating or whatever the Black City. So it has to be relevant, in some degree, right? I mean,
I think so. I just don't know how big, because I think, again, this is just completely my opinion, based on tidbits of news. I think maybe the Red Lyrium Idol was going to be more of a plot center, but then the game was rebooted because the comic direction changed from we are looking for the Red Lyrium Idol to now we're looking for the Red Lyrium Idol, but also a Red Lyrium sarcophagus and also other Red Lyrium shit. And that kind of, unfortunately, had a bit of a knock-on effect on Nunzio de Philippus and Christina Weir's comics, where they were like, well, we've drafted this narrative and that's changed because of the reboot, so we're going to have to change that. And now we kind of got it working of the Red Lyrium Idol a little bit, but it's gone, and it's ended up somewhere else in Navarra with Magister Daenerys the Lesser taking it somewhere. But again, I don't know. Again, that's also based on the Dreadwolf Rises mural, where we all assumed it was so central. I just think based on that pivot, it may have changed, but who knows? Who knows?
That's a good point, yeah.
I have a theory about that.
Oh, go for it. Because I think even Nunzio did say, like, the plot was always to find the Red Lyrium Idol, and it's a quotation, I'm not just making it out of nothing. Nunzio did say in the BioWare social network forums that they had to pivot that plot from the Red Lyrium Idol to something else. But then, at the end, we're kind of able to push it back to the Red Lyrium Idol. Anyway, Emily, what is your theory?
Well, unfortunately, my tragic-minded thought process has led me here today. I think he made that blade, and he is sowing his own destruction, because I think that is something that can probably, because he said you can't kill an Evanurus or something like that, not so easily. And so since he technically counts among them, and he built a weapon such as that, and it's the weapon to end all wars, if that is the theory out there, it's that one that Meryl talks about. Could it not be used against him? That's all I'm saying. I mean, and Rook has it, so...
Yeah.
Hey,
Do you have something to kill him with? I'm just saying, like I'm gonna play both ways, but you know.
Yeah. No, yeah.
That makes me sad.
I'll write something about it later.
Is anybody gonna kill him for their first playthrough here?
No. I am definitely not.
No. I'm also
no.
Just wrap him up in a blanket and keep him safe from all of you.
Yeah.
Leave him alone!
Yeah. I will attempt to redeem him. Attempt.
Waxy is reminding us that we're getting a release date for this game tomorrow. Can you believe it? It's real now.
Does not feel real.
I'll believe it when I see it. I'm sorry.
Until the end.
I'm only being like that because I won't be able to live stream it. No, it'd be amazing. I'm getting two of my favorite things on the same day.
Yeah, what more can you ask for?
It's true. It's true.
It's like Christmas and Halloween together.
Yes. It's true, yeah. Virginia Muir, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much for doing these readings and discussions. This book is so damn good. I agree. And sharing space with dear lovers is a balm for the soul. I couldn't agree more. Also, Virginia could not kill Solas either. Is anybody in chat going in this wanting to kill Solas immediately? Anybody just dislike him and want to slap him over again and again and again and again and again? I have a feeling it's going to be a lot of moving factions, like Absolution showed Meredith sells plans, Crimson Knights, Evanura stuff. Yeah, I think the Veilguard will have a lot. Well, it's already got 7 major factions immediately thrusted into the narrative, and then you think you've got rival factions too. You got, I mean, yeah, Dragon Age has always had so many factions. It gets confusing for a lot of casual fans, not hardcore fans. I want to slap him then kiss him. Yeah.
Yes, Waxy.
Like a painful slap and then a kiss slap. I can never. People don't want to kill him. Go. Okay. I mean, I am a Soul of Ellen, so I agree. I will be importing my Soul of Ellen first for sure. Team Solas.
The only thing I'm wondering about is like, I know how I feel about Solus. I know how my Llewellyn feels about Solus.
How's your Rook gonna?
How does my Rook feel about Solus though?
Yeah, it's true.
That's
how indeed.
That's gonna be an interesting one.
What if your Rook likes Solus more?
What if my Rook doesn't like Solus, and I'm gonna have to justify my Rook being nice to Solus because I want to redeem him?
You will like him. You will. You have to. Oh, can you
I'm pretty sure my Rook will. Well, that depends on what happens to Varric.
I agree.
And who happens to Varric?
What does anybody know what their first Rook is going to be? In terms of faction and class. Hit me. And race and gender and everything. And romance potentially. But you don't need to give me your romance because I get that one's a bit like wait and see.
So big surprise, my Rook is going to be an elf.
Hey!
Wow. She's also going to be a mage. Wow.
Wow.
And I think she's going to be part of the Lords of Fortune, although I'm really interested in Veil Jumpers as well, but I think it's going to be Lords of Fortune.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a fan of that.
For romance, I am not sure. I think I'm going to go for Lucanus, but not sure. We'll see.
Yeah. DeCaster, what are you thinking?
Elf, rogue, Antivan Crow.
Nice.
Nice.
Our sensual, spicy old man.
Nice.
I'm so ready.
And then Emily,
Hell
what about you?
Well, here's the thing.
Oh yeah.
So, the gameplay reveal, it kind of looked like we could be more than one discipline. Like I say discipline as if this is equestrian. Sorry. I mean, yeah, I'm an adventurer and I ride Western. No. Anyway, so it seemed like you could be a warrior with, I'm hesitant to say this because I don't want to like cause any confusion. Mage-like abilities or a rogue with mage-like.
It's true.
Yeah,
that rogue was casting spells. There's no way that rogue was not casting spells. That was a spell. Like flung blue magic from their daggers. Surely.
So that's the thing. I have like her base figured out. I mean, it's not that different. It is an elf, a Lord of Fortune.
Oh.
Hey, nice.
Oh, sick.
Mage, but mage rogue where she has a crossbow, which probably one won't be able to have that in the game.
Yeah.
But I've been doing some soul searching, and well, not spoiler alert, she tipped off, unfortunately, Tevinter slavers to her family accidentally, and she sort of sold her family back into slavery as a kid.
Oh,
Did not know.
Oh, no.
Because they gave her gold and she really liked it, and she thought, oh, hey, they're giving me nice things. I'm sure my family would like it too, and told them where they were.
Oh, flippin' heck.
Yeah, it's a real tragedy. I'm working on it. Anyway, she's adopted by an old. I do. I really do. She's adopted by this like old Lord of Fortune guy who's retired, but is also dating this ex-Tamasrin.
Oh,
Kumari.
nice. Yeah.
So her foster family, and then she became a Lord of Fortune so that she could, I guess, kind of like buy her family back into Winter.
Yeah.
But she's not accomplished. Like, she's kind of sucks at it. So.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get into it too much because I don't want to bore you guys. But
no, it's so cool. I love hearing about OCs. It's brilliant.
You could never be boring.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. It's what we're all here for.
I'm thinking of having her mom as. Do you remember the Tamasrin that Iron Bull mentions? The one that helped him. I mean, not helped him, raised him.
I remember him mentioning.
Yeah, Tama. It's gonna be her. That's the one that she got out. Lord of Fortune kind of married her, and she's got. I've envisioned her having like cataracts now, and she's like really old, but she kind of stepped in as a de facto mother for my Lord of Fortune Rook.
Oh, hell yeah!
So now,
so wholesome.
It is.
I like it.
It's wholesome, but it's also sad. You know, you gotta have flavors in there.
You gotta have a bit of tragedy, just a little bit.
We play Bioware games. We like sadness.
We like a bit of tragedy. You gotta be a little bit. And I want to see which is going to be the most tragic romance story this time that's going to break our hearts. Just saying.
Succulent.
Yeah, succulent indeed. I think Scott Harding is going to betray us as well. I think Bioware.
Wait, Jack.
Harding.
Say that again?
What about you?
Ooh, both of Emily. What did you say?
I was going to ask you about your rook.
Oh, my rook is going to be. I've decided definitely a Morn Watcher. I'm doing a self-insert, and I feel like I am more into the absolute, what's the word, drip of like skeletons and gothic fashion. I love Regency period and nobility and crows and birds and stuff, the Antivan crows, but for me, I think the gothic fashion would be really sick. What we need to do is BioWare need to do a marketing campaign based on the different fashion sense of each faction, and that is how the majority of us are generally. I'm being generalistic, but I think a lot of us are going to base these factions on how what the drip is like, and also how it compares per class you play. So is my Antivan Crows a mage going to be different to my Antivan Crows a rogue? I feel like they're going to have different drips. If we know Dragon Age, they do different drips for different classes. So that's also going to be a huge factor in the faction. But no, I'm thinking Gothic fashion, Morn Watcher, create a bit of a backstory of knowing Manfred and Emmerich, and a bit maybe have met Ordric and the other characters from Down Among the Dead Men. And then I'm going to be a man, male rook, and I'm probably going to be a warrior. Two-handed, I think, which is one of the classes. I forget the particular name, but I like the idea. Again, I need to see the gameplay, and I'm really glad we're seeing warrior gameplay in 2 weeks from the roadmap. And the reason I'm doing that as a warrior is I always do my Dragon Age playthroughs as a warrior first. I do generally like a lot of warriors, and then I'm going to do a second playthrough as Taylor Swift as an Antivan Crow rogue, so I can kind of get my rogue playthrough second, and then I'll probably do a mage third. And then I'm going to romance Nev, unless Belara steals my heart. But Nev so far is definitely high on my list. But I also I'm more into personality than attractiveness anyway. So, while Nev is a babe, and so is Balara, to be honest. I like the vibes of Nev. I like her backstory in Tevinter Nights, but I don't know anything about Balara besides she's bubbly, charismatic, and determined. But I do care about the personalities. I think Balara, well, she definitely seems like she's got a fantastic, fun personality. So I do need to just see if Balara rubs off more than Nev. But we will see. We will see. But yeah, that'll be me for my first playthrough. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait. Cannot wait.
Do you have names picked out for your rooks?
It will
already
be a formation of Jack. So maybe Jackette, Jack Wall. It'll be something silly.
Jack Wall.
My Inquisitor was Jack Wall Trevelyan. It was funny when he met Blackwall. But it'll be a formation of Jack. Do you all have names for your rooks?
Yeah.
Hit me.
Her name's going to be Iselwyn.
Ooh.
It was
Nice.
my first ever high fantasy character I made in Skyrim many, many, many years ago.
Yeah? That'd be cool.
And yeah, I love the name.
That's
It's
cool.
really pretty.
That's sick.
Apparently, hold on. Check the Discord, check the Tea House, news discussion channel. Apparently, Varric does survive the prologue.
Whoa. How do we know?
What?
Wait, how do we know? How do we know?
So Lindsay said, listening to Kayla's stream, and there is a spoiler in there that she says the devs had revealed, but I didn't know they had, which same. But apparently Varric does survive.
Does he? Good. I can't see it in the chat because it's so big. But good, thank you.
I linked it in a...
He's a liver.
chat.
Thank you. Good. Thank you, Lindsay.
If they revealed that, I completely missed that, because I had no idea.
Thank you, Lindsay. Varric is alive. That is true, Fist of Ferrari. It is true. Varric is alive. Good. He might die towards the end, but I thought, to be honest, killing him off early would be silly, because, like, for new fans who have not played the game before, he's this adorable, fantastic dwarf that you're going to fall in love with. Or he's dead now. Okay, well, what attachment, besides his lovable chest hair and everything else, what attachment do I have to that character? Nothing.
Okay.
So it's like...
I agree, but also I would say Duncan.
But at least you got a bit with Duncan. This is like 5 minutes of... Well, this is obviously it's going to be longer than the first mission. But with Duncan, it was at least, what, 5 hours of content? Is that fair to say? Origin mission,
I'm not sure.
bit in the Ostagar. And then...
we don't know exactly how much they cut out of the gameplay reveal.
That is true. That is true. But it's about an hour long, is what the journalists who got to see it properly in full said. It was about an hour long. But I just think for new fans, again, for me, I was already upset crying in the stream anyway. But for new fans, here's this really cool dwarf. He's going to help you out. You're working with him. Oh, he's dead now. Okay. And I get it. It's a good incentive. Oh, shit. Gillinan killed Varric. How dare she? I'm going to absolutely kill her now. But I just don't want him to die, okay? Lisa, you want him to die. You want Varric to die.
I don't want him to
yes,
die.
Yes, you do. Lisa wants Varric to die.
I never said I want him to die.
She did. She did.
That's a lie. We have the audio. I never said I want him to die.
All the time.
I said I'm okay with him dying if he gets a good send off. That's different.
She just wants him to die.
I'm actually in agreement.
Oh?
Yes, with you, Lisa.
Okay.
If he gets a good send
You
off.
want Varric to die as well.
Jack, I like the pain. I like tragedy.
Lisa and Emily hate
I
that.
want to feel things.
No.
Lindsay put another tweet in there from Carly Q. She said, "Oh, tomorrow's going to be so hype, y'all aren't ready."
Ooh, Carly Q is also a developer as well. Ooh. Ooh, I will be so hyped tomorrow. I'm gonna literally spontaneously combust tomorrow.
Oh, same. Oh my god.
I'm gonna die.
I am really glad I have the day off tomorrow because I would not have been able to concentrate on work.
Please, can you, in our own Discord, Lisa, just tag me the important details? Because I know I'll be looking at the Discord, but it will just be... And I'm like, shit. What is the TLDR? Even just a TLDR of Dragon Age is coming out October 29th. You are going to die because we just saw Rook and the character creators revealed, and the demo's coming out now, and the collector's edition has a massive freaking sword with Solas's face on it.
Oh, right. Of course, yeah, because the pre-orders are opening tomorrow as well. Oh, God. That's
I will be pre-ordering it as soon as I can. Somebody did ask in the UK where's best to pre-order. Game is the only place I know to pre-order.
Won't we be able to just, like, get it, like, off their, like, a website? Or, like, off the Dragon Age website, EA website?
Definitely on Steam and the EA store. I'm more thinking about physical editions.
Yeah, so, sorry, that's what I meant, like the collector's edition.
I don't, it might be an exclusive. The thing is, the BioWare currently have an e-commerce store right now on their site. If I go on the Dragon Age store, sorry, the Dragon Age website, is there a BioWare Gear store? Yes, but can you buy the games on the Gear store?
I don't think so. That's just for merch, right?
Yeah. So if it's not an e-commerce, if the current BioWare website isn't an e-commerce website, I don't know how you'd buy it.
I don't know how this works, because the only collector's edition I've ever bought is Baldur's Gate 3, and they just had it on their own website, so I don't know how this works.
I reckon it might be suppliers in your own country.
Makes sense.
Just based on their current website. But when you do go on Wishlist, when you go on Wishlist, it does go to a separate link. I reckon it will be suppliers at a certain link. So I will show chat.
Right.
When I go on this, it goes wishlist now, and it goes to Steam, Xbox, PlayStation, and Epic. Now, it's just going to be the physical editions that we all really care about for the collector's editions, whatever they may be, that we need to see. But it might be like BG3, where it's just, this is only on the Baldur's Gate 3 store, so buy it now. But yeah.
Oh, we'll see. I'm sure
well, we don't have long to wait, and I'll be getting all the details with tears in my eyes after crying at Taylor Swift.
No.
It'll be good. No, happy tears. Happy tears. Happy and sad tears.
Happy and sad.
Pretty wild to think that we can pre-order it tomorrow.
Literally, and we're going to know the release date. 10 years of a wait to this moment, folks. 10 years.
How does that feel for you guys?
It's not. I don't believe it until I see it. And the thing is, because I'm busy tomorrow anyway, I'm not going to be fully in the moment to really be like get all the details. So it'll be Sunday for me where I actually get to actually look at everything, because I'm in London tomorrow. I'm staying in London on Friday with my friend, and I'm seeing Taylor Swift again on Saturday, and I'm back on Sunday.
Wow.
So I will be able to look at the news, but I won't. I'll have my laptop, but I won't be able to actually sit and digest it all. So it'll be Sunday afternoon where I'm reacting to all of this stuff. No more clowning. It's true, Virginia. Oh, it makes me sad.
Oh my god.
No we'll clown for DLC.
We'll clown for
DLC.
I say we keep clowning anyway.
I mean, we were clowning for the flipping August flipping roadmap anyway, weren't we? Are we going in today? Okay, no.
We only have a mere hours to wait now.
We have.
Yes.
We have like what 18 hours. I'll look on the web. So for chat, there is a YouTube scheduled video going out tomorrow, and it will count down to the release date video. Oh yeah, Callie's put tomorrow's hype gonna be so counting down. Literally another BioWare developer just tweeted counting down. This is the release date with a different thumbnail of Rook as well, looking sick. People already in the chat. Oh, it's my chat, I think. No, it's not. I can't tell. I'll move it away though. There's already this, and it premieres in 18 hours. We have 18 hours. Oh, there's a description though. Return to Vadis in Dragon Age, the Veilguard. Solas's ritual is interrupted, but at what cost? The corrupt gods are broken free and are hell-bent on blighting the world. It's up to you to unite the Veilguard against these ancient rulers. Have you got any... I think they should have put the release date in the description.
Just sneakily down at the bottom.
They haven't done it yet. Why haven't you done it yet? I'm going to joke. Or am I?
Because it's probably at the end of the trailer that they're going to show.
So they'll probably update it tomorrow.
Yeah, they will do.
Yeah, for sure.
But what's the release date trailer gonna have? Is it gonna be a 10-second trailer of the release date? What's it gonna be?
Oh God, I have so many hopes and dreams.
I know.
Oh, I just need to accept what is given. Just be like accepting regret. Just need to accept it.
Regret. Yes. Accept regret.
Accept it. True. I am hoping. I mean, I'm excited for a trailer. I wonder how long it's gonna be. Is it a minute or we were kind of spoiled with the 20-minute gameplay footage. So now I'm like,
yeah, it's true.
How long was the companions trailer?
A minute and 10? I mean, you know what? No point guessing. It was.
I can look it up.
It was 2 minutes. I was wrong. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
It felt really quick. That's why I thought it was a minute, because it was like that trailer was like that. But no, it was 2 minutes.
I feel like this one's probably gonna be similar, maybe a little bit longer. Maybe showing off some more of the characters, some of the companions. Maybe we could actually hear some of the companions speak this time.
Oh, I reckon. I feel like it's gonna have voiceovers and stuff in it. I do feel like it's gonna be more like action-packed story. I do. Short clips of stuff being like do whatever.
Yeah, same. But I'm hoping some of those voices might be the companions.
Oh, be sick.
And then there's like this big moment, but before we see the result of it, it switches over to a black screen with the release date on it. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I actually want to hear this again. Sorry, go ahead.
Say that again. I was so excited. What did you say, Emily?
I mean, I wouldn't mind. No, I wouldn't mind. I want to hear Solus in it. I want him to.
Yes.
I want to hear him say "new." I mean, I've watched that one portion of him talking to Varric in the gameplay footage so many times. I need to hear him say "new." I need to just conjure it up. I need something new, new dialogue. Just one little line, just to excite me.
I agree.
So, to keep that fire burning.
Keep maybe that like fire, that love. That 10-year love of Solas burning.
Yes.
Yeah. But tomorrow, we have 17 hours, I think. With that, we will call this an end to Rook Club for Callback. We'll be back next week with, what is it? It is Luck in the Garden, I believe, which is the one where Holix goes to fight a tentacled monster in Menraphis, and we have a few characters from Menraphis, I will not spoil it, appear. So we'll be back for that. But massive thank you to DeCaster, Emily, Lucas, who's obviously gone already, and Lisa for joining me for this one. Really massively appreciate you all helping and throwing your voices. Big round of applause for you all. Massively, massively appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun.
You're more than welcome to come back any time for any of the Tevinter Nights books. I always appreciate it. But no, tomorrow, folks, I will not be able to do any kind of live reactions, but I'm sure I'll be screaming about it on Twitter when I do get to seeing it. But please, everybody, lose your collective marbles and tag me in any stuff you do see on Twitter or on Discord, because I want to know all this shit, and I just want to hear your reactions too. And the release date, we're flipping getting it, and we're going to be pre-ordering the games tomorrow too. I'll be doing it after I scream and cry.
We're all going to be broke.
We're all going to be broke, and we're all going to be... I'm going to be literally, tangibly, physically living Dragon Age Taylor's version tomorrow. They always release news whenever I go see her, so I just need to keep on seeing her. That's what I need to do. I'm wearing a Swifty shirt too, but you all can't see it. There you are. Swifty! Anyway, thank you all again. Massively appreciate it. Thanks, Lisa, DeCaster, and Emily.